Chapter 1351. All of them were very satisfied. They all felt that Tianyun was sincere in befriending them, and he was not just messing around. Especially this big gift, which was to his liking. They were really satisfied. If they brought it back, the region lord would be very happy. Nian Xiu was also very satisfied, but she still felt very complicated. She did not know how Tianyun managed to cultivate. Could it be that he could improve by leaps and bounds by going to the second-grade god realm? She did not really believe it. It was very likely that it was an opportunity. Only an opportunity could improve by leaps and bounds. No matter what, she knew that the region lord of this god realm was Tianyun. An excellent disciple of theirs had become the region lord. It seemed that they could become powerful allies in the future. They did not stay for long. They were just here to visit. They did not plan to live there and enjoy themselves. All of them took the prisoners back happily. They had to go back and report to the region lord first. Then, they could discuss the alliance. After all, they could not make decisions about these things. After they left, Nian Xiu stayed. Only Tianyun and Nian Xiu were left in the hall. Elder Nian, do you have any questions? Tianyun asked. No questions. The heavenly mandate divine region wants to ally with you and help each other. What do you think? Nian Xiu smiled and made a decision immediately. The other elders had to go back and ask for instructions. But she was equivalent to half a region lord. Unless it was something serious, she could make the decision. This kind of thing was very serious, but there was no harm in allying with Tianyun. Of course, I have no objections. Let's have a happy cooperation. Tianyun stood up and walked down from the hall with a smile. His original intention was to form a cooperative relationship with other god realms. That way, he would not be surrounded by enemies. He did not intend to conquer the world. He only wanted to improve steadily. If he wanted to conquer the world, he had to be strong enough. His overall strength was still too weak. If he was strong alone, it would be difficult to maintain. Let's have a happy cooperation. Nian Xiu smiled and immediately inquired, that's right, how do you plan on naming this deity region? In her opinion, this was already Tianyun's celestial territory. He couldn't possibly call it the Chaos Celestial Territory, right? This was clearly unreasonable. Tianyun pondered for a moment, then smiled and said, then let's call it the Three Realms Divine Domain. Three Realms Deity Realm? After Nian Xiu repeated it a few times, she smiled and said, this sounds a little strange. The Divine Realm can only be considered a world. How can it be considered the Three Realms? Well, let's just assume that there are three worlds. Tianyun smiled and did not explain too much. It was impossible for him to call himself the Heavenly Cloud God Domain, which was even stranger. He wasn't arrogant enough to name himself a God Domain. The God Realm of the Three Realms was actually pretty good, so he named it after the previous world. Alright, the Divine Realm of the Three Realms it is. I'll go back now and explain the situation to my father. I hope that we can have a pleasant cooperation in the future. After Nian Xiu finished speaking, she was about to leave when she suddenly thought of something. She turned her head and said to him, I'm very happy that you can cultivate to such a level. However, I hope that you can do everything steadily. Don't be too impulsive and don't be arrogant. I know that you are stronger than me, but this is my reminder. After saying that, she left. Tianyun smiled and shook his head. He muttered to himself, it seems that she thinks that I'm a nouveau riche who picked up an opportunity. It feels like I can do anything I want. He knew why Nian Xiu reminded him like that. Some people thought that they were invincible after their cultivation broke through very quickly. They immediately started to grasp power or take revenge. There were many people like that who immediately attacked someone they didn't like. With some opportunities, such as obtaining a top inheritance and a lot of treasures, they would naturally become arrogant and prideful. However, Tianyun wasn't like that. He had never been prideful. He knew that the world was vast and there were countless experts. At his current level, he had just established himself here. How would he dare to be arrogant? With regards to her reminder, Tianyun was very grateful. At least he wouldn't be afraid to say a word just because his cultivation was higher. If someone thinks that I'm a nouveau riche, that would be a joke. He thought that there were definitely people like that. However, he didn't know which god realm would do such a thing. However, he had a good relationship with so many god realms. He believed that not many god realms would dare to interfere. Very quickly, the name of the divine realm of the three realms spread out. The surrounding god realms all allied with him. Very few people knew why they suddenly allied together. They didn't know why it went so smoothly. They didn't say anything about Tianyun helping to capture people. Each of them was experienced and knew what to do. If they were exposed, the prisoners of the divine realm of the three realms would riot. With the support of other god realms, the situation of the divine realm of the three realms became more stable. The cultivators who knew about this felt that it was a wise choice to join the divine realm of the three realms. One by one, the god realms came to establish good relations with them. This proved that the divine realm of the three realms was very strong. As time passed, the territory of the divine realm of the three realms was basically stable. Especially with the reinforcement of the divine spirit race, the divine realm of the three realms was finally surrounded and formed a perfect defense. A few years passed quickly, and Tianyun had been here for a few years. During this period of time, he felt that he was the most idle. He stayed here all the time. Usually, he communicated with some diplomatic envoys and made important decisions. As for external enemies, there was no such thing. The resources of the first-grade god realm couldn't attract the attention of the second-grade god realm or the third-grade god realm. Everything went on peacefully and steadily. Successfully completed main quest, transfer the three realms to the god realm and become a first-grade god realm. Obtained 1000 points of compressed crazy point, 1000 points of compressed SPs, 1000 points of compressed proficiency. At the same time, obtained a new title, I am the Domain Lord. I am the Domain Lord. Within the divine realm, damage is increased by 50 times. All intruders' power is reduced by half, changes according to cultivation level. At the same time, can appear anywhere in the divine realm at any time. No teleportation divine stone is required. Tianyun was shocked by this title. He didn't expect this title to be so amazing. Not only the damage is increased, but it also has a special ability to teleport at any time. Chapter 1352. The effect of this title is amazing. Unless a very strong heavenly master comes, who can I be afraid of? When Tianyun saw this title, he felt excited. This will undoubtedly make his divine realm safer. Even if a middle-level heavenly master comes, he will have the power to fight. 50 times the strength bonus, plus the ability to weaken the opponent's power, under the double superposition, the power is even more amazing. Just as he was feeling excited, a melodious voice once again sounded in his ears. Ding! Successfully accepted the main quest. Seize the 4th grade God Realm Token Core, level up to 4th grade God Realm. Reward, 10. 000 compressed crazy point, 10. 000 compressed sin point, 10. 000 compressed proficiency. At the same time, get a special protective shield. No one can invade the 3 realms God Realm for 1,000 years. Rewards for completion time. If you succeed on the first try, you will receive an additional super gift pack. If you succeed on the second try, you will receive the unlocking of crazy damage mode, also included in the super gift pack. If you succeed after that, there will be no reward. Crazy damage mode can never be upgraded. What's going on? Tianyun was shocked. He thought that the next step was to upgrade to 2nd grade God Realm, then to 3rd grade God Realm, step by step, and finally seize the 4th grade God Realm Token Core, then successfully enter the 4th grade God Realm. This is a very reasonable task and plan. Who knew that suddenly came out of nowhere to seize the token, isn't this a trap? The first and second times referred to the most recent battle of God's domain, which was the first battle of God's domain. After this divine realm battle, there is still the next divine realm battle, which is a bit longer, then it will be counted as the second time. He didn't know what the super gift pack was, but he knew very well that he would be able to unlock the insane damage mode after completing it for the second time. If he can't seize the token the second time, then he will never have the chance to upgrade crazy damage mode again. To him, this was an absolute treasure that allowed him to fight above his level. Without this thing, it would be very difficult for him to fight above his level. Although the effect of 128 times is amazing, who would think that they are too strong? No wonder there is no level limit after upgrading crazy damage mode. It turns out that I have to complete this task to unlock the privilege. Tianyun patted his head. Fortunately, he could choose to do it a second time. If he didn't complete it the first time, he would at least have a second chance. This was a little humane. If it was forced to complete it on the first try, it would be too much of a scam. For the second time, he would have 10,000 years to prepare. By then, his cultivation would have broken through, and the Three Realms God domain would have become even more powerful. There shouldn't be any problems. If you complete it the first time, you'll get a super big gift bag. What's this thing? Tianyun frowned. He couldn't see what was inside, but crazy mode was inside. In addition to crazy mode, it also included other things, which made him look forward to it. While Heavenly Cloud's great emperor was thinking, Elder Gu walked in from outside and said respectfully, "Heavenly Cloud's great emperor, the teleportation array has been set up. Now, we will begin to set up the defensive array. As long as the defensive array is set up, even if a Heavenly Master attacks, we can resist for a while." The Divine Spirit race was indeed the Divine Spirit race. Their attainments in Divine Seals were really outstanding. The Divine Seal array they created could even resist a Heavenly Master. It was shocking that a Grade 1 God domain could have such a defensive power. Imagine a group of Divine Monarchs attacking fiercely, only to find out that they couldn't break it at all, and in the end, they were shocked to death. Tianyun turned a deaf ear to Elder Gu and asked, "Elder Gu, if I snatch the 4th grade God domain token's core, do you think I can directly send the Three Realms God domain to the 4th grade God domain?" Elder Gu's face changed, and after looking to the side, he hurriedly said, "Heavenly Cloud's great emperor, you can't talk nonsense like that. If the experts of the 3rd grade God domain know about it, they will directly regard you as an opponent. The key is not to do stupid things. The battle of the God domain is not a joke. There are many Heavenly Masters and Divine Monarchs. Don't worry, no one here will know about it. I just want to know about it," Tianyun said. "Huff, Heavenly Cloud's great emperor, don't scare me. I thought you wanted to participate in the battle of the God domain." Elder Gu breathed a sigh of relief. He was afraid that Tianyun would do something stupid. He knew that Tianyun was very strong now, but the battle of the God domain would involve many Grade 3 forces, not just one. Some of them were even stronger than the Evil Spirit God domain, and they would all join the battle. "I really want to participate," Tianyun said bluntly. Cough, cough, cough. Elder Gu immediately coughed and looked at Tianyun in shock. "Heavenly Cloud's great emperor, are you sure you're not joking?" "No, but I just want to know about it in advance so that I can make a judgment." Tianyun didn't hide anything. He wanted to understand the situation first, and if it was suitable, he decided to participate in the battle. He was very interested in the super big gift bag. "Okay, but don't act recklessly. The Three Realms has just started, and it can't withstand such a war." Elder Gu pondered for a moment, then explained, "According to the previous situation, as long as we obtain the token core, we can only transfer it over. It's completely different here. If you want to improve the grade, you can only keep climbing, and the higher you go, the more difficult it is. The division of the God domain is fixed, especially the later Grade 3 God domains. So, if you want to become a grade 3 god domain, you must fight and replace the other side. In fact, the evil spirit god domain is an area that can be replaced. But even if we occupy it, other grade 2 god domains or grade 3 god domains will soon come and occupy it. We can't keep it. Tianyun knew about this before. It meant that if he wanted to become a grade 2 god domain, he would need to move. Of course, this wasn't a problem, and the area here would become a division. This kind of situation existed in many god domains. For example, the famous Heavenly Spring god domain. In fact, there were some god domains that were left behind after they were promoted. So, the entire god domain was moved to the grade 4 god domain area? Tianyun was shocked. Chapter 1353. Tianyun didn't know much about this before. Now that he knew, he was truly shocked. He didn't know what kind of power was needed to move an entire god domain. If 1 or even 10 planets were to be moved, he felt that it would be very normal. However, if all the planets in the divine domain were moved away, it would be equivalent to moving all the people and planets over. Just how much power was needed to achieve this? Even an upper heavenly venerate couldn't do this, right? This sounded really too powerful, and it caused his understanding to be fiercely refreshed once again. This is really amazing, Tianyun sighed. It is indeed amazing and inconceivable. Our ancestors actually had a rank 4 god domain, but we lost contact a long time ago. We don't even know what the situation is like now. Elder Yu shook his head and sighed deeply. He felt that it was a pity. If their ancestors had sent some power down or sent some reinforcements, they wouldn't have fallen to this state. Since the divine spirit race was so powerful, they would definitely have killed their way into a rank 4 god domain. But after losing contact for so long, who knew what had happened there? It was difficult to communicate with a rank 3 god domain. Even a rank 4 god domain would need some effort to come down. But it was still better than a rank 3 god domain. They couldn't go up at all and were completely blocked. This was equivalent to 2 different worlds. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been directly moved over. Instead, they would have ascended level by level like now. I wonder what the situation is like at the rank 4 god domain. Tianyun looked forward to that place. The environment there was more amazing, and it would allow them to advance to a higher level. Of course, it was also possible that his master, Vast Heavenly Venerate, was there. That place must be very powerful. Otherwise, there wouldn't be so many rank 3 god domains fighting over it. The token core appeared automatically. As for where it will appear, no one knows. It might be at a rank 1 god domain, or a rank 2 god domain, or even a rank 3 god domain. No matter where it appears, it will definitely become a battlefield. The hardest thing is not to obtain the token core, but to protect it. Elder Yu said solemnly. Protect the token core. Tianyun asked in confusion. That's right. This is a god's domain war, not an individual battle. That's why I'm advising you. Heavenly Cloud's great emperor, I admit that you are very strong. If he cultivated more, he would have a higher chance of obtaining the token's core. But if you get the token core, you will need to guard it for a month. Think about it, what will happen during this month? Elder Yu looked at Tianyun and asked. Hunt me down or destroy my god territory. Tianyun narrowed his eyes and immediately knew what was going on. That's right. In a month, not only you, but even your god domain will be destroyed. Those who are more ruthless will abandon their god domains and enter grade 4 god domains by themselves. Those who aren't ruthless will resist for a month. Elder Yu shook his head and said, that's a terrifying battle. Can't they plan it? Anyway, the entire god domain will be moved over. Each god domain will send some people over so that everyone has a share. Tianyun said. If you can think of it, why can't others think of it? This token core has intelligence, and I suspect that the situation of the god domain here is being monitored. It's useless to sneak into other god domains as it will only move things and people from the original god domain. Elder Gu said earnestly, that's why it's useless. It's the way it is, and nothing will change. I think the only way is to stay together from the beginning, but I don't think there is room for two tigers in one mountain. These heavenly masters will definitely not be willing. Elder Gu's words made sense, and Yi Tianyun thought about it and agreed with him. Even if it was possible, they were not willing to do it. Every expert had their own pride and their own way of thinking. If they gathered together to rule a god domain, it would be easy for them to disagree. It's impossible to have two domain lords, right? No one was willing to add the word deputy in front of the domain lord. So that's how it is. It seems that this token is really difficult to get. Yi Tianyun shook his head and immediately thought of a point. His eyes lit up and he said, if I hide my identity, wouldn't I be able to get it? Heavenly Cloud's great emperor, I can't deny that you are very thoughtful, but God won't give you a loophole. Once you snatch it, then the location of your god domain will be exposed, as well as your own location. This thing is like the sun in the sky, constantly releasing light and covering you and the god domain, there is no way to escape. Elder Gu shook his head. That's a trap. Yi Tianyun was speechless. He thought he could come up with a brilliant plan, but it turned out to be a clumsy one. There was no blind spot, and there was really no loophole to exploit. That's right, otherwise, we would all want to try it. Elder Gu smiled bitterly. How could they not be tempted? But being tempted also required capital. If a group of people besieged them, it would be a dead end. Not only would they die, but they would also bring disaster to their own family. Is there really no other way? Yi Tianyun still didn't give up. If this was the case, wouldn't he miss the super big gift bag? Heavenly Cloud's great emperor, it seems that you really don't want to give up. But think about it, who wouldn't be tempted? Especially those with good skills. Elder Gu thought for a while and said, in fact, it's not that there is no way. As long as you give enough compensation to move the grade 3 god domain, then they will join forces with you. A compensation that can move the grade 3 god domain? I think it's really a lot of money. Even if they go up to grade 4 god domain, they will still be crippled, right? Yi Tianyun shook his head. This was indeed a way, but correspondingly, the compensation was definitely too much. That's true. Elder Gu smiled and said, so, Heavenly Cloud's great emperor, you should give up. I think as long as we have enough time, after our god domain develops, we will definitely have a chance. As for now, it's not possible for the time being. Elder Gu believed that Yi Tianyun could definitely lead them to grade 4 god domain. But it was still too urgent now, and their overall strength was not enough unless Yi Tianyun was ruthless enough to abandon them. Chapter 1354. After Elder Gu left, Yi Tianyun sat on the chair and pondered. It had to be said that the current difficulty was too great. This could be considered a team battle. Unless he was like Heavenly Venerate God Killer, an extremely cold-blooded person who disregarded everything. If he disregarded everything and ran like crazy, he could rise to grade 4 God Realm. However, if he rose to grade 4 God Realm like that, he would basically be alone. If his own faction was wiped out, then he would have to rise by himself. He could either start all over again or join another grade 4 God Realm. None of these were a problem. However, Yi Tianyun could not do this. How could he bear to watch Shi Shuayun and the others die? It had to be said that this was a test of how they would choose. Should they abandon their own faction or advance and retreat together with their faction? Currently, there were only a few paths he could choose from. He could either join forces with the other celestial realms, or he could continuously increase the overall strength of the 3 realm celestial realms, or he could continuously increase his own strength and make himself even more invincible. In the 3 realms God realm, he could be said to be an invincible existence. He could teleport wherever he wanted. This meant that he could provide support everywhere and did not have to worry about any blind spots. The terrifying uninterrupted teleportation was enough to make him a god of the three realms' god realm. He could go anywhere he wanted with a single thought. At that time, many god realm factions would definitely attack. At that time, he would need to be strong enough to resist the suppression of so many heavenly venerates. Currently, it was known that there were about 10 god realms participating, all of them grade 3 god realms. Not to mention those grade 2 god realms, they would not participate at all. If they participated, it could only be said that they would participate because of their relationship with grade 3 god realms. Some grade 2 god realms were supported by grade 3 god realms and would definitely be used when needed. All in all, there were at least a dozen grade 3 god realm heavenly venerates. To become a grade 3 god realm lord, one must have the strength of a heavenly venerate. Without a heavenly venerate, there was no way a faction could convince the masses. Apart from Empyrean powerhouses, there were also many divine lords and the like. There was no need to mention these. A super gift bag, a grade 4 god realm. Tianyun yearned for it. However, if he were to join hands with a grade 3 god realm expert, the other party would definitely demand an exorbitant price. Even if he could afford it, he wouldn't want to. As for how much of a lion he would demand, it would definitely be at the level of an Empyrean spirit treasure. If it wasn't even at this level, who would be willing to help? While Tianyun was trying to come up with a solution, a guard hurried in from outside and reporting to the emperor, a grade 2 god realm envoy is here to pay his respects. Grade 2 god realm envoys? Tianyun did not think too much about it. He waved his hand and said, "Let them in." Following which, the grade 2 god realm envoys were brought into the hall. In truth, there were only 2 envoys, and they both represented their respective god realms. When they first came in, they had arrogant expressions and did not put this place in their eyes at all. "Are you the ruler of this place?" One of the emissaries looked up and down at Tianyun. "You don't even have the slightest bit of etiquette. Get out." Tianyun waved his hand and sent the envoy flying with a slap. The envoy was severely injured and couldn't move at all. The other envoy was dumbfounded. Attacking without any warning, wasn't this too arrogant? This was simply looking down on them. One had to know that they were grade 2 god realms, and they were much stronger than grade 1 god realms. "May I know what business you have with me?" Tianyun's gaze turned cold as he stared at the other envoy. These grade 2 god realm envoys all had their eyes on top of their heads. Each one was more arrogant than the other. A grade 2 god realm was strong, but it was nothing in front of him. He had already leveled a grade 3 god realm to the ground. Why would he be afraid of a grade 2 god realm? I am an envoy from the Fu Hong celestial realm. I'm here to cooperate." The envoy's back was drenched in cold sweat. Even if he was arrogant, he did not want to die. Cooperate? What kind of cooperation? Tianyun sat back down and asked calmly. "Our Fu Hong celestial realm wants the 3 realms celestial realm to become our subsidiary celestial realm and listen to our orders." The envoy stated his purpose of coming. "In return, we will give you very good conditions. We can even send your outstanding disciples to the grade 2 god realm to cultivate." Sure enough, they came here to recruit them as a subsidiary force, similar to enlistment. This kind of situation could be found everywhere. This kind of situation often occurred. The Heavenly Mandate Celestial Realm was equivalent to a subsidiary of the Heavenly Spring Celestial Realm. This was not a problem. Normally, they would not send people down to manage it. They would only be used at crucial moments. "I'm sorry, but the 3 realms Celestial Realm is only talking about cooperation, not subsidiary. Even grade 3 god realms would end up like this, let alone grade 2 god realms like you." Tianyun's calm expression enraged the envoy. "Tianyun Domain Lord, I gave you face, but you don't want it. You refuse a toast only to drink a forfeit. If you don't join us, you will die." The envoy was enraged. They had never been bullied like this before. What was a grade 1 god realm? How dare they be so arrogant in front of them? Then get out of here. Tianyun stretched out his hand and slapped the envoy, sending him flying out while coughing up blood. He would not be polite to this kind of trash. It seems that there are many grade 2 god realms who want to recruit me. Let's see if they have the ability to do so. Tianyun shook his head. There are a lot of things to do recently, there are a lot of things to do. It seemed that there would be a lot of such things in the future, but he didn't mind. Since they wanted to cause trouble, he would let them cause trouble. It would make the 3 realms more famous. Maybe this way, I can attract the attention of grade 3 god realms. Tianyun narrowed his eyes. If the grade 3 god realms noticed this, he might be able to talk about cooperation. Although he knew that the other party would ask for an exorbitant price, how would he know if he didn't talk? When he was thinking about this, another guard came in and said hurriedly, reporting to the Heavenly Cloud's Emperor, there is a distinguished guest outside asking to see you. Well, invite him in. Tianyun frowned. Why did someone come again? Immediately, an old man walked in slowly. Tianyun looked at the old man and found that this old man was the old man who gave him the information, the old man from the Moon Spirit Pavilion. When he saw the old man, Tianyun's eyes lit up. He suddenly thought of something, and that was the disciple of Vast Empyrean. Vast Empyrean might not be here, but his disciple was. Chapter 1355. I didn't expect to see you here, senior. Tianyun stood up and walked down slowly with a smile. I don't dare to call myself senior anymore. You are a territory lord, especially the territory lord of the Chaos Dominion. You are qualified to be my senior. So, please don't call me senior anymore. If you can, just call me Yunda. I will be grateful. The old man hurried to greet him, not daring to put on airs. Strength is respected, Tianyun is stronger than him, how dare he call himself senior? Okay, I will call you Yunda. What brings you here this time? Tianyun smiled and said, or should I say, my senior brother, what can I do for you? As expected of the Heavenly Cloud Territory Lord. You guessed my purpose immediately. Yunda smiled. Don't flatter me. I am afraid you will hurt my leg, Tianyun said, squinting. Ahem, that is the truth. Our pavilion master has invited you to meet him. I am afraid you have the strength of a half-step heavenly master. Without the strength of a half-step heavenly master, it is impossible to suppress the Chaos Dominion. Even with the help of the Divine Spirit Clan, you need to be strong. With the strength of a half-step heavenly master, you are only one step away from becoming a heavenly master. With your talent, it should not be a problem for you to become a heavenly master. In a sense, you have become a disciple of Vast Heavenly Master, so you are qualified to meet our pavilion master. It was not surprising that Yunda knew about the Divine Spirit Clan. Now that the Divine Spirit Clan was helping people everywhere, they did not know about the God Seal. Even if they hid their identity, some sharp-eyed people would be able to see through it. Some God Seals could only be carved by the Divine Spirit Clan, so they would naturally be able to recognize them. However, Tianyun believed that only the Moon Spirit Pavilion could easily find out. As for the other third-grade god realms, they would not be interested at all. It was not that they were not interested in the Divine Spirit Clan, but they were not interested in the 3 realms god realm. Who knew that the Divine Spirit Clan was here? Even if they knew, Tianyun believed that he could protect himself and the Divine Spirit Clan. Moreover, when people came, they could just say that there were only a few divine spirits. Who said that there was a large group of them? The divine spirit race was well protected here, and they normally wouldn't appear in front of people. Even if Tianyun thought he had some ability, he didn't dare to be too careless. That's true. Please lead the way. Tianyun made an inviting gesture. Since there was nothing to do here, it would be best for him to immediately go and see his senior brother. Since the Heavenly Cloud Territorial Lord is free, that would be great. Please come with me. Yunda brought Tianyun out. With a wave of his hand, a spirit ship appeared in the void. He gestured for Tianyun to board his own spirit ship. Tianyun didn't think too much about it. He stepped into the spirit ship. Yunda immediately started the spirit ship and flew towards his destination. Yunda's cultivation wasn't low. He was at the Divine Lord level, so he was able to control the speed of the spirit ship quite quickly. Tianyun closed his eyes and sat in meditation, waiting for Yunda to lead the way. Under Yunda's control, they passed through one god domain after another. They didn't go to a second-grade god domain, but to Fanyu. If the Moon's Soul Pavilion was in a third-grade god domain, he wouldn't be surprised. After all, his senior brother was an Empyrean. But now, they were going to Fanyu, which made him feel puzzled. However, he didn't ask and kept silent. Yunda seemed to know that Tianyun was confused, so he explained, the pavilion master likes to stay in a quiet place. Even Fanyu can create an area comparable to a god domain, or even better. Tianyun nodded. It wasn't difficult to create such a place. The difference between god domains was the difference in the core and the concentration of star power. These two factors affected all kinds of resources, such as the grade of spirit herbs and so on. It was absolutely impossible to see high-grade spirit medicines in low-rank god realms. If it was purely for cultivation, as long as one had a good core, it wouldn't be a problem to create a good environment in Fanyu. As Yunda continued to make turns, they arrived at a special area. Yunda gestured for him to go down, and then he followed. There was nothing in front of them, but when Yunda approached, he stretched out his hand and patted the void. A vortex appeared in the void. Void passage. Tianyun narrowed his eyes. This wasn't anything special. It was something similar to a teleportation array, just more advanced. It was hard to find, unlike a teleportation array, which needed to be engraved on a stone or the ground. This passage could only be created by opening up the void, so it wasn't easy. But correspondingly, this thing was more hidden and safe. In front is the area where the pavilion master lives. You can go there alone. I won't be going with you. Yunda gestured for Tianyun to go in. He wouldn't follow him in. He was just a guide. Now that he had brought Tianyun here, his task was complete, so he didn't need to go in. Tianyun nodded and stepped into the void passage. It was as if he was walking on hard ground. He walked forward step by step. After passing through a long corridor, he walked out of the passage. What came into view was a very normal landscape. It was a beautiful environment. There was an island in front of him, and there was a small house on the island. As soon as he came in, he saw a young man sitting on the side with a fishing rod extended, fishing leisurely. Sword Lord Heavenly Venerate, Middle Level Heavenly Venerate Cultivation Base. Has superb sword control ability. Can kill enemies thousands of miles away when using swordsmanship. He couldn't be bothered to read the rest. This wasn't his enemy. Even if he knew everything, it wouldn't be of any use to him. However, this senior brother of his was really strong. Middle-level Heavenly Venerate Cultivation Base was considered outstanding even in Grade 3 God realms. Yet, he was fishing leisurely here, as if he had nothing to do with the world. This was just an act of standing aloof from worldly affairs. If they really did not care about anything, they would not have established the Moon Spirit Pavilion. The Moon Spirit Pavilion, which specialized in collecting information, was the real killing machine. Information was always the most important. Know yourself and your enemy, and you will emerge victorious. You're here, junior brother. Sword Lord Heavenly Venerate smiled and waved his hand. Do you want to fish here? Yes, senior brother. Tianyun flew to his side, took the fishing rod, and fished beside him. Everything was so peaceful. He didn't sit for long before he entered a state of emptiness. All distracting thoughts were thrown away, and he entered a special cultivation state. Chapter 1356. The environment here was quite tranquil. Cultivating here could immediately remove the distracting thoughts in one's heart, allowing the cultivation speed to be doubled with half the effort. It was relatively difficult to enter the emptiness realm, but it was easy to enter here. No wonder Heavenly Venerable Sword Ruler would choose this place to cultivate. The effects were indeed amazing. Not only that, but the mountains and rivers here were specially arranged. Everything was so harmonious. And this was not a simple mountain and river, but the energy of the core. What was buried underground happened to be the incomparably powerful third-grade water core. Heavenly Venerable Sword Ruler cultivated the water attributability, so there was a water core here, and it was a third-grade water core. There was more than one water core, but several were arranged nearby, forming this area. This kind of extravagance was truly extravagant. With so many water cores, it could make the cultivation environment here surpass third-grade God realm. Therefore, even if it was not a third-grade God realm, the cultivation environment was still very good, so there was no need to worry. Heavenly Venerable Sword Ruler did not speak, neither did Yi Tianyun. They just fished here. In fact, there was not a single fish in the lake. It was empty below, so how could there be any fish? If a cultivator passed by here, they would think they were crazy. After an unknown amount of time, Heavenly Venerable Sword Ruler smiled at Yi Tianyun and said, "It seems that you are quite patient. You are not in a hurry to ask why I called you here. It's not that I am patient, but senior brother asked me to fish, so as a junior brother, fishing is naturally the priority." Yi Tianyun smiled slightly. "Ha, that's right." Heavenly Venerable Sword Ruler smiled faintly and said, "This time I called you over, in addition to meeting us, I also want to bring you to meet the other two senior brothers. In this area, only the three of us are left here, including you, there are four of us. There are two more senior brothers." Yi Tianyun's eyes lit up. In that case, there were two more powerful Heavenly Venerables. This allowed him to see hope. If all three of his senior brothers were to help him, wouldn't he be able to win this battle? Yes, but the other two senior brothers won't easily recognize your strength. In my opinion, you are qualified to become a Heavenly Venerable since you can suppress the Chaos Celestial Realm. To be able to establish a deity realm, this level is not bad. Heavenly Venerable Sword C smiled. Yi Tianyun narrowed his eyes. It seemed that they had not found out that he had destroyed the evil spirit celestial realm. He had been rather secretive about destroying the evil spirit celestial territory. Even the Moon Soul Pavilion couldn't find out. If he knew, he would definitely be scared silly. After all, the evil spirit celestial realm had two Heavenly Venerables. If they were destroyed just like that, it meant that Yi Tianyun already had the strength of a Heavenly Venerable. If that's the case, if I hadn't broken through to the Heavenly Master stage, or if I hadn't established my own sect, I'm afraid that senior brother Jian wouldn't have met me in advance. Yi Tianyun asked. Yes, I won't meet you until I see that you have hope of breaking through to the Empyrean stage. There are quite a few in-name disciples. If all of them acknowledge each other, that would be too unnecessary, said Empyrean Sword C indifferently. It was not that he was too heartless, but there were many in-name disciples, and he would not recognize those who did not show enough potential. For example, in the Empyrean path last time, there were more than 7 or 8 in-name disciples. So that's how it is. But I think senior brother Jian doesn't just want to meet me, right? Yi Tianyun said. Yes, the three of us stayed in the outer divine realm for so long. Actually, our goal is very simple, that is to eliminate Heavenly Venerable Killing God. Empyrean Sword C's eyes were cold, filled with killing intent. However, there was news recently that Heavenly Venerable Killing God is already dead. I don't know who killed him, but it actually helped us a lot. After saying that, he laughed, but he was more confused. He really couldn't find out who killed him. Eliminate Heavenly Venerable Killing God? Yi Tianyun was startled, his expression a little strange. Didn't that mean that he killed him? Yes, it is to eliminate Heavenly Venerable Killing God. Heavenly Venerable Killing God is Master's enemy. Now that he is seriously injured, we must immediately find him and eliminate him. Empyrean Sword C smiled and said, "Of course, there is no need now. He is already dead." It seems that Heavenly Venerable Killing God has quite a few enemies. This is called retribution for evil. This way, our mission is basically completed, and we can return to the inner divine realm. However, before we go back, we plan to introduce you to the other two senior brothers. After you break through to the Heavenly Venerable Realm, Master will personally guide you to the inner divine realm. Outer divine realm, inner divine realm. When Tianyun heard these new terms, he was a little confused. I almost forgot to explain. Outer divine realm refers to the third grade divine realm, including Fan Yu. They are all outer divine realms. Inner divine realms are fourth grade divine realms and above. That's the general classification. Empyrean Sword C explained. The key is that it can be guided over. Didn't they say that one can only go to the fourth grade divine realm after obtaining the token core? Tianyun was shocked. This is indeed correct. However, with Master's ability, it should not be a problem to guide a few up. Nothing is absolute. Everything depends on strength. Empyrean Sword C thought for a while and said, but it depends on the situation. Now that Master is injured, it is not easy to guide him. However, when you break through to the Heavenly Venerable Realm, it will take a long time. By then, Master should have recovered. Master's injuries are very serious. How long will it take? Tianyun asked. This is hard to say. It might take tens of thousands of years. The injuries this time are too serious. Empyrean Sword C shook his head and sighed. Tens of thousands of years. Tianyun was instantly speechless. Wasn't this time a little too long? However, if the injuries were really serious, this was a very normal period of time. After tens of thousands of years, who knew how many divine realm wars there would be? The key was that he had to complete the mission. If he did not complete the mission, he would not be able to obtain the big gift bag. Even if he guided him, it would be useless. Senior Brother Sword, I wonder if you can let the three senior brothers help me in the Divine Realm War? I want to obtain the token core in the Divine Realm War. Tianyun said solemnly. Empyrean Sword C looked him up and down, shock appearing in his eyes. Junior brother, I know that you have just created a divine realm, but this is different from the Divine Realm War. The difficulty is a little too high. Senior Brother Sword, I will say it now. I wonder if I can get the support of the three senior brothers. Tianyun said with a firm tone. This. I can do it, but the other two senior brothers are difficult to deal with. You are not from the same sect for the time being. It is difficult to even meet them, let alone help. Unless you can prove your strength and get their recognition, then it is possible. Empyrean Sword C thought about it and said. Get their recognition. Tianyun's eyes flashed. He immediately took out the 10,000 Venerables God Pagoda and handed it forward. This is Empyrean Killing God's 10,000 Venerables God Pagoda. Actually, Empyrean Killing God was killed by me. I wonder if this is qualified. Chapter 1357. Sword Lord Heavenly Venerable was dumbfounded when he saw the 10,000 divine pagoda in Tianyun's hands. Previously, he was still wondering who killed Heavenly Venerable Godkiller. Now that he saw the 10,000 divine pagoda in Tianyun's hands, there was no doubt that it was him. The 10,000 divine pagoda was Heavenly Venerable Godkiller's treasure, and it was the most famous one. It was absolutely impossible to give it away. There was only one possibility for it to appear in someone else's hands, it was dead. Of course, most powerhouses knew about Heavenly Venerable Godkiller's death, but they didn't know who killed him. As for those god generals who were tragically captured, some were killed, some were imprisoned underground, and had been tortured. But after it was cleared up, they were all released. But after being released, they were already half crippled. It was awkward to capture their god realms. Who would have thought that heavenly venerable god killer would really be killed? But things had already happened, and they couldn't change it. Therefore, they could only apologize at most. The elders of Heavenly Venerable God Killer frantically searched for the person who killed Heavenly Venerable God Killer. Heavenly Venerable God Killer could only hold it in. Could they still seek revenge? During that time, Heavenly Venerable God Killer had been besieged. By the time they found out, a small part of Heavenly Venerable God Killer had been destroyed, and they had suffered heavy losses. Heavenly Venerable God Killer's death was already tragic enough. Now, Heavenly Venerable God Killer's God Killer had suffered a lot of damage, and he was even framed. This made the powerhouses of Heavenly Venerable God Killer as sullen as they could be. Sullen was fine, but Heavenly Venerable God Killer's death caused Heavenly Venerable God Killer's status to fall to the bottom. The god realms that were originally polite to them now became very powerful and didn't care about them at all. As for asking for help to investigate Heavenly Venerable God Killer's killer, they all agreed very perfunctorily. In reality, they wouldn't really send people to investigate. How could a killer that could kill Heavenly Venerable God Killer be weak? If that was the case, how would they dare to get involved in this mess? They hid as far away as they could, not daring to get close at all. Some god realms even planned to befriend the killer. After all, this was an existence stronger than Heavenly Venerable God Killer. Befriending him would definitely be beneficial to them. Even Sword Lord Heavenly Venerable and the others were very willing to befriend him. He was originally an enemy of Empyrean Godslayer, but now that he had helped kill him, how could he not want to befriend him? However, no one knew who it was. Heavenly Paragon Swordsea and the others all felt that it was a pity. They hoped that they would be able to meet this expert one day. Now, this mysterious expert had appeared in front of him. It was his little junior brother. Heavenly Lord Swordsea looked at the myriad venerable god pagoda in Yi Tianyun's hand and was speechless for a moment. This was simply too strange and sinister. The person he had been searching for was his own junior brother. You really killed him? Heavenly Venerable Swordsea still did not dare to believe it after a while. I really did it. The 10,000 deities pagoda is here. Could it be a gift from the Godslayer Celestial? Or did someone give it to me? Yi Tianyun laughed. That's true, but that heavenly sovereign death god was so powerful. How did you kill him? Empyrean Swordsea thought for a while, and it was indeed so. But how exactly did he kill it? He could not figure it out. There was a huge difference in cultivation between the two, so it should be very difficult to deal with. Actually, it's very simple. I just used Master's attack mark to continuously weaken his strength, and then gave him a ruthless blow to kill him. Yi Tianyun explained simply. The attack mark is right, but the power shouldn't be that strong. Even if you want to deal with him, you need to be at the level of a mid-stage lower Heavenly Venerable. Could it be that you? Heavenly Venerable Swordsea looked Yi Tianyun up and down and sensed that his cultivation was only at the God Lord level. Yi Tianyun's cultivation was indeed at the God Lord level 5. He was indeed at the God Lord level, so naturally, it could not be that high. It was already very strong for a God Lord to have the power of a half-step Heavenly Venerable. If he reached the level of a mid-stage lower Heavenly Venerable, that would be heaven-defying. Actually, I do have a slight advantage. I don't need a particularly strong cultivation. An early-stage lower Heavenly Venerable cultivation is more or less enough to deal with Godslayer Celestial. It's probably because my comprehension of martial arts is deeper, so I can injure him more. Yi Tianyun explained, a large part of the reason I could kill Godslayer Celestial was because I had some luck. Otherwise, I really wouldn't have been able to kill him. Or rather, I might have been the one who died. Yi Tianyun's words were not a lie. Even if he used his full strength, he might not be able to surpass Godslayer Celestial. He still needed luck. He even made use of the fact that he was weak to make the other party careless. If he used his full strength from the start, he would definitely be dead. That is possible, but your comprehension of martial arts is so deep. Heavenly Venerable Sword C thought about it, then stood up and said, "Little junior brother, I still don't believe it. In order to satisfy your previous request, as long as you can display strength that convinces me, I will unconditionally support your participation in the Divine Realm battle." Good. Yi Tianyun's eyes lit up, and he quickly stood up and said, "Then, senior brother, I apologize for offending you." After saying that, he took out the Starlight Divine Spear and aimed it at Heavenly Venerable Sword C. He didn't need to display his full strength. He only needed to show that he had comprehended it to a very deep level. If he really used his full strength, it would be too exaggerated. After all, he could only use his strongest power in a life-and-death crisis. In Heavenly Venerable Sword C's opinion, even if Yi Tianyun used his full strength now, he definitely wouldn't be as strong as he was at that time. In a desperate situation, one's strength would be even stronger. Of course, this was just his wishful thinking. Immediately after, Yi Tianyun's spear pierced through. Heavenly Venerable Sword C flicked his hand lightly and bounced him back. Yi Tianyun spun a few rounds in the air before steadily landing on the ground, completely fine. Heavenly Venerable Sword C was naturally fine. It was just a simple spar. Not bad, not bad. You actually cultivated the Boundless Divine Art to the 5th level, it's too terrifying. The Boundless Divine Art has a total of 7 levels. Since you cultivated it to the 5th level, it seems that breaking through to the Empyrean realm won't be a problem at all. Heavenly Venerable Sword C was pleasantly surprised. As expected of my little junior brother, no wonder you could defeat Empyrean Death God. Just this 5th level of strength is enough to display the effect of Master's attack mark to the extreme. In this way, Empyrean Death God was indeed suppressed to the point of being sullen. I believe in this. Little junior brother, you have the strength to kill Empyrean Death God. Heavenly Venerable Sword C said with satisfaction. If this news reaches Master, you don't even need to break through to the Empyrean realm to be qualified to become his disciple. Even if your injuries haven't recovered, I'm afraid he will guide you over. You won't even need to participate in the Divine Realm battle. Chapter 1358. Yi Tianyun had to get the super gift bag. At the very least, he had to get the right to unlock crazy mode. These were all important things to improve his strength. How could he miss it? It was not that he was greedy, but he had to do it. If he did not improve his strength, it would be hard to protect the 3 realms God realm. No treasure could compare to crazy mode. Just think about it, a 128 times stacking was already terrifying enough. When the time came, it would be 256 times, how could he not level up? He would risk his life to upgrade. After tasting the sweetness, he would not give up. Unless there was no hope at all, that would be a different story. Now that he had hope, he had to give it a try. You have to participate in the God Realm battle no matter what. Even if Master is willing to guide you up, you don't need this. Sword Lord Empyrean found it strange when he saw Yi Tianyun's determination. Senior brother Sword, I have to participate in the God Realm battle. I want to bring all my loved ones up. I don't want to abandon them. Actually, the most important thing is to show my strength. If I can win the God Realm battle, I think Master will value me more. Yi Tianyun smiled. That's right. Being able to move your own God Realm to a grade 4 God Realm is quite an amazing thing. Sword Lord Empyrean thought for a while and said, since junior brother has made up your mind, then I won't say anything more. I will fully support you in the God Realm battle. When the time comes, I will personally participate and bring my disciples to protect your God Realm. But I have to make one thing clear. Although I will help, I will not help you snatch the token core. Even if you killed Heavenly Venerable Godslayer and made a great contribution. If you want your God Realm to go up and show your strength, you have to snatch it yourself. This is necessary. Senior brother Sword just needs to help protect my God Realm and not be disturbed by other forces. Yi Tianyun is very satisfied with this point. If he can fight alone, then he will definitely be willing to fight alone. But now that he could not fight alone, he had to rely on external forces. And, it's fine as long as you know. But don't worry, even if you fail, your senior brothers will protect your life. Failure isn't scary. The scariest thing is death. Sword C. Heavenly Venerable said with a smile, no matter what, this is a great merit of yours. If Master knew about this, he would be overjoyed. Who knows, he might even personally come down to protect you. That's an exaggeration. Speaking of which, can anyone come down from here? Tianyun asked. There's no need for that. I just need to spend some effort. Some things are worth spending more effort on. Heavenly Lord Sword C smiled. No wonder those grade 3 god realms are so arrogant when they get close to a grade 4 god realm. Tianyun nodded his head in agreement. Who could stop a grade 4 god realm from sending an upper-level Heavenly Venerable? Upper Heavenly Venerables were extremely rare in grade 3 god domains. Most of them were lower Heavenly Venerables, and at most, they were middle Heavenly Venerables. Empyrean Death God was an exception. He had come down from the inner divine realm. That's true. Hence, the reason why the War of the Divine Realms is so dangerous is because the Divine Realms have sent reinforcements. Empyrean Death God was one of those reinforcements, but he's dead now. Sword C. Heavenly Venerable said with a smile, the next step is to convince the two senior brothers. As long as they are convinced, I can't guarantee that you will be able to stabilize the War of the Divine Realms. At the very least, you will have a 50% chance of winning this round. Only a 50% chance. Tianyun's eyes narrowed. Yes, your current god realm's overall strength is relatively weak. Even with our support, we can't take care of everything. The main thing is that you need to personally obtain the token core. Hence, you will have to rely on your own strength and your own strength. Once you obtain it, with the three of us guarding it, it won't be a problem to stabilize the situation for a month. Especially since you killed Empyrean Death God. After Master hears about it, he might even send an extremely strong force down. Sword C. Heavenly Venerable smiled. At that time, are you still worried that you won't be able to hold on? That's right. Tianyun's eyes lit up with joy. It seemed that killing Empyrean Death God was really a big gain. There's no time to lose, let's go find senior brother Longming now. Sword C. Heavenly Venerable waved his hand, and a transmission array appeared. He brought Tianyun inside. In the next moment, they disappeared into the transmission array. In the blink of an eye, Tianyun felt as if he had appeared in another world. This world was filled with all kinds of monster beasts, wandering around everywhere. When they saw them appear, the monster beasts stopped and knelt down, respectfully saying, "Greetings, Ancestor Sword." "And, is your ancestor here?" Sword C. Heavenly Venerable nodded. "Yes, he's cultivating on that sky pagoda." A giant bear pointed at the tall pagoda. "Good, let me introduce you. This is your little ancestor. He'll be joining us soon." Sword C. Heavenly Venerable explained with a smile. "Greetings, little ancestor." They knelt down and kowtowed to Tianyun. They were very respectful, and they didn't doubt Tianyun at all. Tianyun sized up these monster beasts. There were all kinds of races, but what they had in common was that they were all monster beasts. For example, giant eagles, giant bears, giant deer, and the like were all here. There were high and low cultivations, with the highest reaching the Divine Lord level, and the lowest even Star Venerate. In this area, they were running all over the place, looking quite lively. This area was the same as Sword C. Heavenly Venerables, a world created by himself. Here, Heavenly Venerable Longming was the king. "Alright, you guys go and play by yourselves. I'll go and meet your ancestor." Then, he continued walking forward with Tianyun and explained, "This is the world created by senior brother Longming. It's pretty good, right?" "Senior brother Longming seems to be a monster beast?" Tianyun asked. "I knew you would ask that. In fact, it's the opposite. Senior brother Long Ming is from an inconspicuous race, the Divine Wood race, Sword C. Heavenly Venerable explained. Divine Wood race? Yi Tianyun was stunned. Although the Divine Wood race had the word divine, their status was actually very low. In terms of the might of their bloodline, they were only slightly better than humans. The greatest advantage of the Divine Wood race was that they were tough enough and had a more tenacious life force. Everything else was basically terrible. Unexpectedly, such a Divine Wood race could become a Heavenly Venerable. In terms of cultivation, he should be stronger than Sword C. Heavenly Venerable. That's right, it's the Divine Wood race. You didn't expect it, right? Not only the Divine Wood race, but he is also a beast tamer and can control many monster beasts. In addition, he likes the monster race, so he will place many of his favorite monster beasts in his world, Sword C. Heavenly Venerable instructed. So, remember not to be rude when you meet him later. Chapter 1359. I will. Yi Tianyun nodded, feeling a little admiration for this senior brother. It was quite incredible to climb from a Divine Wood race to such a position. Just like him, the human race was neglected everywhere, and other cultivators didn't think highly of him. His situation was quite tragic, but he still persisted. It was not simple. He also had the support of the crazy system, allowing him to counterattack fiercely. What power did this senior brother Long Ming rely on? But he will definitely get along well with you. The status of the human race is much worse than that of the Divine Wood race. This way, you will appreciate each other and get along better, Heavenly Venerable Jian Si reminded. I don't think this is of much use, everything depends on strength, Yi Tianyun said with a smile. This. Heavenly Venerable Jian Si scratched his head, looked at him, and said, this is really crude words, but it really depends on strength. Immediately after, Heavenly Venerable Jian Si brought him directly to the top of the divine tower in front of him. The other monster beasts couldn't barge in, but Heavenly Venerable Jian Si and the others were different. When they arrived at the top, Heavenly Venerable Jian Si waved his hand, and the wall in front of them quickly opened to the side, revealing a hole. He flew in with Yi Tianyun, and just as they landed, the door quickly closed. Junior brother Jian, is this the little junior brother you mentioned before? This senior brother Long Ming in front of him was from the Divine Wood race. It was very obvious that he had a thick layer of tree bark on his body, and the branches even extended out from the side. The key was that he had the appearance of a dragon. The Divine Wood race naturally didn't look like this, but he had absorbed the bloodline of a giant dragon. After the blood entered his body, it transformed his body, which was why he had such an effect. Sure enough, I need a little fortuitous encounter, or it will be really hard to make a comeback. Yi Tianyun looked at this senior brother Long Ming. He had a dragon head and a tree body, which looked a little strange, but he was quite domineering. Vaguely, he could feel the domineering dragon might spreading out in all directions. His cultivation had reached the level of late-stage middle-level Heavenly Venerable, which was indeed a level stronger than Heavenly Venerable Jian Si. Even if he absorbed the power of the giant dragon's bloodline, if he didn't cultivate properly in the later stages, it would be impossible to reach this level. Yes, this is the little junior apprentice brother I mentioned before. His talent isn't bad and he was able to establish his own divine realm influence. This level of ability is at least a half-step Empyrean. Heavenly Venerable Sword C didn't tell the truth immediately. Instead, he smiled and said, I brought him here to meet senior brother Long Ming and get to know each other. Celestial Venerable Dragon Cry sized up Yi Tianyun and nodded. A divine lord with the bloodline of the human race can rule the chaos celestial territory. He is indeed not simple. However, breaking through to the Empyrean realm is not easy. You have to work harder. In theory, you can't be said to be from the same sect as us. However, since junior brother Jian has said so, then let's meet in advance. This is my gift to you. Take it. With that said, Celestial Lord Long Ming plucked a branch from the ground and tossed it to Yi Tianyun. It slowly floated into his hand. Tianyun took the branch and immediately felt a surging vitality coming from it. There was also the surging power of a Empyrean. With this thing, not only could he continue to comprehend the power of a Empyrean, but he could also heal his injuries. It was comparable to a very good healing elixir. Thank you, Senior Brother Long Ming. Tianyun felt that Celestial Venerable Dragon Cry's attitude was very good. He wasn't very forceful. Perhaps, after seeing that he was from the human race, he would take care of him a little more. Senior Brother Long Ming, little junior brother has a matter that he needs your help with. Heavenly Venerable Sword C smiled. Tianyun, who was beside him, felt that Heavenly Venerable Sword C was going to reveal his fox's tail. He was just fooling around. What is it? Heavenly Venerable Dragon Cry looked over and said, what matter is it that you can't help solve? You still want me to help solve it? Actually, it's very simple. Little junior brother wants to participate in the Divine Realm battle and let the three of us help protect the Divine Realm, Heavenly Venerable Sword C explained. Impossible. Heavenly Venerable Dragon Cry was immediately a little displeased. He looked at Tianyun and said in a deep voice, biting off more than you can chew won't do you any good. Moreover, this is impossible. We aren't even true disciples of the same sect, so I won't help. Heavenly Venerable Dragon Cry's words were very firm and even a little unhappy. Clearly, this was crossing the line for him. I wonder what I can do to get Senior Brother Long Ming's help. Heavenly Venerable Sword C asked with a smile. It seems like he has already successfully bribed you. Heavenly Venerable Dragon Cry shook his head and said, I don't know what treasure he gave you, but I definitely won't help unless he becomes a true disciple of the same sect. You can help if you become a true disciple of the same sect? Heavenly Venerable Sword C repeated to confirm. Yes, no matter what, you have to become a disciple of the same sect. There's no need to talk about anything else. Heavenly Venerable Dragon Cry said without thinking. In his opinion, it would still take some time to break through to the Empyrean realm, so he naturally couldn't dig a hole for himself. All right. Heavenly Venerable Sword C patted Tianyun's shoulder and said, little junior brother, take that thing out and scare him to death. Oh, okay. Tianyun knew it would be like this, so he immediately took out the 10,000 Divine Pagoda and placed it in front of him. 10,000 Divine Pagoda. Heavenly Venerable Dragon Cry stood up in shock, wondering if he had seen wrongly. After sizing it up, he realized that it was really the 10,000 Divine Pagoda. How did you get it? He was very calm before, as if nothing could cause any waves. Now, he was so scared that he jumped up. Senior Brother Long Ming, this is little junior brother's spoils of war. He killed Heavenly Venerable Killer God and took down this 10,000 Divine Pagoda. The murderer that we are looking for outside is actually him. Heavenly Venerable Sword C smiled and said, if this matter is passed to Master, I think Master will be happy to accept him as a disciple immediately. That way, we will be in the same sect. Oh, right, let me add one more thing. I've already checked his strength, it's very strong. The main thing is that the Boundless Divine Art was cultivated to the 5th level, completely activating the attack imprint in Heavenly Venerable Killer God's body, thus being able to take him down in one fell swoop. As for the degree of danger, I'm not too sure, but it's definitely very dangerous. Anyway, Senior Brother Long Ming, what you said just now still counts, right? Heavenly Venerable Sword C chuckled. He actually schemed against his senior brother. First, he set up a trap, then ruthlessly played a trick, and he fell for it. Tianyun did not know whether to laugh or cry at the side. If he did this, what would Senior Brother Long Ming think? Junior Brother Sword, you're really as sinister as before. Heavenly Venerable Dragon Cry sat down, shook his head, and said with a smile, all right, I'll agree. Just tell me about it, I'll agree to it. Originally, our mission was completed by Junior Brother, but now, Junior Brother has completed it. Now, if it's us helping him do something, what's so difficult about it? Heavenly Venerable Sword C patted his head and said helplessly, that's really the case, what a waste of breath. Chapter 1360. After Heavenly Venerate Long Ming agreed, Tianyun was still a little excited. How could he not be excited about having another powerful Heavenly Venerate to assist him? I promise to protect your God domain, so I won't help you snatch the token core. Heavenly Venerable Dragon Cry was the same as Heavenly Venerable Sword C, he wouldn't choose to help snatch it. That's for sure. Everything depends on your own strength. You can't rely too much on external forces. Tianyun nodded, expressing his understanding. Actually, there's no need to worry. Even if the other divine domains have reinforcements, they won't be able to interfere at all when seizing the command token core. Therefore, everything was considered a fair competition, and everything depended on one's own ability. As for external forces, they are only used during defensive battles, said Heavenly Venerate Dragon Cry. Tianyun was very clear about this. He could not interfere with foreign aid, mainly because there were people watching over them. This was a battle of the outer divine regions. Protecting the divine regions could rely on external forces. After all, the two had different meanings. Moreover, whether or not he could safely return to his own god territory after obtaining the token core was another matter. I promised you, but senior brother Li Tian isn't that easy to deal with. Heavenly Venerate Long Ming smiled and added, he won't give you any face even if you're from the same sect. As for you killing Empyrean Death God, that is indeed a great merit, but if you want him to assist you, it will be very difficult. That's right. Senior apprentice brother Li Tian is the most difficult to deal with. He's even stronger than us. He's at the upper Empyrean level. He can basically do whatever he wants in the outer divine regions. At the same time, he's also the only one among us who can cultivate Empyrean martial arts. Empyrean Sword Judge said enviously. Empyrean martial arts? Tianyun's eyes narrowed. Even Heavenly Venerate Godslayer didn't have the opportunity to cultivate Heavenly Venerate martial arts. Who would have thought that this mysterious senior brother Li Tian would actually be able to cultivate Heavenly Venerate martial arts? An Empyrean martial art was extremely heaven-defying. Once one successfully cultivated it, they would be able to display the strongest power of an Empyrean. However, this didn't seem to be easy to cultivate. He had seen so many Empyreans, but no one had obtained an Empyrean martial art. Even the two senior brothers before him had yet to reach that level. That's right, the requirements to cultivate it are extremely harsh, but senior apprentice brother Li Tian completed it just like that. We still have to work harder. Otherwise, we won't be able to cultivate at all. Heavenly Paragon Sword C shook his head and said. By the way, how many direct disciples does Master have? Tianyun asked. Including you, there are a total of 5 people. The other one is senior sister. She is staying in the God realm to help Master heal his injuries, said Sword C Heavenly Venerable. Only 4 people. Tianyun was taken aback. There were quite a lot of disciples in the heaven pilfering divine ground, but he didn't expect that out of so many in-name disciples, less than 4 would be selected. Breaking through to the Empyrean realm is not a simple matter. Not only does it require a lot of time, but it also requires a lot of resources. If little junior brother hadn't killed Heavenly Venerable Killer God, I'm afraid it would have taken a long time. Heavenly Venerable Jian Si said solemnly, especially during the tribulation, the power is great, and it is another threshold. Tianyun nodded. This was indeed a difficult task. Otherwise, there wouldn't only be 4 people. Many of them died along the way. Even an Empyrean could die in the struggle for resources. No matter what, senior brother Li Tian is hard to persuade. He is a stubborn person. He will only carry out Master's orders. As for our requests, he won't care. Heavenly Venerable Jian Si smiled bitterly and said, so even if you make a great contribution, he might not be persuaded. So unreasonable. Tianyun frowned. It seemed that this was a difficult bone to chew. With one more Empyrean, the safety of the 3 realms God realm would increase. Actually, senior brother Li Tian is not bad. He is just a little stubborn. If there is any danger, he will be the first to step forward. Before Heavenly Venerable Killer God died, he has been searching for him ever since he came to the God realm. It can be said that he is crazy, said Sword C. Heavenly Venerable. But from what Senior Brother said, there is still a chance to persuade him. Tianyun asked. That's hard to say, but there is a chance. Then it's about time. I will bring you over now. If we are late, Senior Brother Li Tian will return to the God realm. When Sword C. Heavenly Venerable prepared to fly away with Tianyun, he turned to look at Empyrean Long Ming and said with a smile, Senior Brother Long Ming, don't forget. I won't forget. When the time comes, I will personally take action. Empyrean Long Ming waved his hand and signaled him to scram. Many thanks, Senior Brother Long Ming. Before leaving, Tianyun thanked him once again for his help. Immediately, Sword C. Heavenly Venerable left this area with Tianyun and quickly returned to the world he was in. Senior Brother Sword, why are you helping me? Do you have some special purpose? Tianyun felt a little strange. Even if he made a great contribution, there was no need to be so enthusiastic, right? There really is a special purpose. The battle of the God realm is so exciting, how can I miss it? Sword C. Heavenly Venerable rubbed his palms, his eyes revealing a strong fighting spirit. Tianyun was instantly speechless. So, he was a battle maniac. Sword C. Heavenly Venerable didn't say much. He brought him to another transmission array and soon disappeared. In the next moment, they appeared in another area. This area was not special, it was the Fan Yu. It's Fan Yu again. Senior Brother Li Tian is staying in Fan Yu? Others couldn't help but want to stay in Fan Yu, but the two of them were the opposite, staying in Fan Yu. That's right, Senior Brother Li Tian is a super genius and has nothing to do with Fan Yu. He was born in Grade 3 God Realm and can be said to have grown up with a golden spoon in his mouth. Yet, he likes to stay in Fan Yu. We don't know why either. Sword C. Heavenly Venerable shook his head, feeling very puzzled. He likes to stay in Fan Yu. Tianyun thought for a moment and felt that Senior Brother Li Tian should have a story, and it happened in Fan Yu. But I remember that you were born in Fan Yu, right? He shouldn't be so cold, right? Sword C. Heavenly Venerable smiled and said, now that I think about it, not only do you have some connection with Senior Brother Long Ming, you also have some connection with Senior Brother Li Tian. This is indeed a little bit related to it. Tianyun said, hoping that his relationship with Yi Xuan would be useful. Empyrean Sword C brought him to go one round in the surroundings, a little like they were strolling around the vicinity. Senior Brother Sword, can't you find Senior Brother Li Tian? Tianyun asked from the side. Senior Brother Li Tian often strolls around without a fixed residence. I really don't know where he is. Sword C. Heavenly Venerable said helplessly, but he has always been in this area, we will be able to find him soon. Tianyun looked around and did not see anything special, it was not a place he was familiar with. Chapter 1361. Sword Judge brought Tianyun along, and after searching for a while, they finally found Senior Apprentice Brother Li Tian on a nearby asteroid. Tianyun looked into the distance and saw a handsome young man sitting on the small planet. He was looking into the distance and seemed to be thinking about something. Heavenly Celestial Strength, Upper Heavenly Celestial Stage. Possesses immense power and a top-notch strength God bloodline. His terrifying power can smash anything. The Strength God bloodline was a very shocking bloodline power. After it was activated, it could explode with strength that was several times stronger than usual, or even tens of times stronger. As the level increased, it would also increase. At the end of the day, Heavenly Venerate Strength was a super strong man. Just his fists alone were enough to shatter the void. Berserk Strength was much stronger than others of the same level. Just by relying on strength, one could conquer everything. So, it's the mighty God's bloodline. His overall level is indeed astonishing. If it's a battle, he will truly be invincible. Yi Tianyun's eyes lit up. In terms of strength, the Herculean god bloodline might not be number 1, but it would at least be in the top 3. If combined with an Empyrean martial art, it would truly be heaven-defying. It was no wonder that with the help of the 3 of them, they would be able to hold the fort. Just this strength alone was enough for a heavenly paragon. If he thought about it carefully, if he didn't even have this little bit of strength, how could he deal with Empyrean Death God? Empyrean Death God was an upper Empyrean powerhouse. Even if he was injured, he still had the standard of a middle Empyrean. Thus, an extremely powerful force was needed to suppress Empyrean Godslayer. The 3 of them were extremely powerful disciples, so suppressing Empyrean Death God wouldn't be a problem at all. However, this mission was snatched away by Yi Tianyun. Senior brother Li Tian, I've finally found you. Sword C. Heavenly Paragon brought Yi Tianyun and flew over. Heavenly Venerate Heavenly Force slowly opened his eyes. His gaze lingered on Heavenly Venerate Sword C for a moment before stopping on Yi Tianyun. I believe this must be the person you mentioned earlier who has a chance to become our junior brother, right? It seemed like they already knew about Yi Tianyun. For Heavenly Venerable Sword C to be able to bring others over, he definitely had some status. Greetings senior brother Li Tian. Yi Tianyun walked over and said respectfully. Don't call me senior apprentice brother Li Tian. You haven't become my junior apprentice brother yet, so you don't have the right to call me senior apprentice brother. Heavenly Paragon Li Tian's words were extremely ruthless, further proving his inflexibility. As long as it wasn't a foregone conclusion, don't tell him anything else. What senior brother or junior brother? We'll talk about it after everything is confirmed. It was not his style to come to a conclusion without even confirming it. Cough cough, senior apprentice brother Li Tian, you really are inflexible. But he will definitely become our little junior brother. Let me show you something. Sword Judge Heavenly Lord patted Yi Tianyun's shoulder and signaled him to take out the Myriad God Pagoda. Heavenly Paragon Sword C didn't dare to dig a hole in front of Heavenly Paragon Li Tian. Some people couldn't be provoked casually, or it would have the opposite effect. Yi Tianyun quickly took out the 10,000 Gods Pagoda and passed it forward. 10,000 Gods Pagoda. Heavenly Paragon Li Tian, who looked as calm as water, was shocked. He quickly flew over and stared at the 10,000 Gods Pagoda. That's right. This is the 10,000 Gods Pagoda, Heavenly Paragon Godkiller's powerful treasure. Now that Heavenly Paragon Godkiller was killed by little junior brother, it's a great merit. Even if my cultivation hasn't reached the level of a Heavenly Paragon, it shouldn't be a problem for me to become a fellow disciple, right? Sword Judge Heavenly Paragon was very satisfied when he saw Heavenly Paragon Li Tian's shocked expression. This was the effect he wanted. Even the usually calm Heavenly Paragon Li Tian would give him a good scare. Then, Heavenly Paragon Li Tian glared at Yi Tianyun and said, "Tell me, how did you do it?" "I cultivated the Boundless Divine Art to the 5th level, then activated Master's attack mark and killed him," Yi Tianyun explained. "I see. The 5th level of the Boundless Divine Art. You are qualified to become my junior brother. From now on, we will be fellow disciples." Heavenly Paragon Li Tian quickly regained his composure and was no longer as shocked as before. Clearly, he had accepted this reality and acknowledged Yi Tianyun's ability. Everything seemed so calm, just like how it was at the beginning. "This is a greeting gift from me. I hope you don't mind." Heavenly Paragon Li Tian took out a bottle and handed it over. "Many thanks, senior brother Li Tian." Yi Tianyun didn't even look at it before accepting it. Something given by a Heavenly Paragon would definitely not be bad. After saying that, Heavenly Paragon Li Tian turned to leave. He didn't want to spend too much time with them. "Senior brother Li Tian." Sword Judge Heavenly Paragon hurriedly shouted. "HM. Is there anything else?" Heavenly Paragon Li Tian asked curiously. "If there's nothing else, it's about time we return to the God domain." "Of course there's something else." Little junior brother has a presumptuous request and hopes that senior brother Li Tian can agree to it, Sword Judge Heavenly Paragon said. Yes, I have a presumptuous request and I hope that senior brother Li Tian can agree to it, Yi Tianyun said. Then let's hear it. Heavenly Paragon Li Tian didn't turn to leave. Instead, he listened earnestly. I want to participate in the God Domain War and I hope that senior brother Li Tian can be the protector of my faction. I don't need you to help me snatch the token core. I just hope that you can help me protect my faction. Yi Tianyun said sincerely. No. Heavenly Paragon Li Tian didn't even think about it and immediately refused. Why? Yi Tianyun asked curiously. There's no why. I don't want to get involved in such matters. Heavenly Paragon Li Tian shook his head. Senior brother Li Tian, don't be so unreasonable. Little junior brother killed Heavenly Paragon Godkiller. If it weren't for him, who knows how long it would have taken us to find him. Who knows, Heavenly Paragon Godkiller's injuries might have healed by then. It would be even more difficult to deal with him then. Heavenly Paragon Sword Ruler tried to persuade Heavenly Paragon Li Tian. Regardless of whether or not he wanted to join in on the fun, just this sentiment alone was enough to make Yi Tianyun feel grateful. Even so, I don't want to get involved. The God Domain War. Heavenly Paragon Li Tian sighed deeply, a trace of sorrow in his voice. It was clear that some of his memories had been drawn out. Let's just forget about this matter. Perhaps we can still discuss other matters, but don't look for me for this matter. He waved his hand, indicating that Yi Tianyun didn't need to say anything else. Just like that, the matter was settled. Heavenly Paragon Sword Ruler felt helpless. Since Heavenly Paragon Li Tian had said so, there was no way he could force his way through. With their current situation and status, they would only be amenable to coaxing but not coercion. Of course, Heavenly Paragon Li Tian could be said to be unmoved by persuasion or coercion. He was even more stubborn. Senior brother Li Tian, you've been staying here all this time, so you must have some memories that you haven't forgotten, right? I wonder what it is. If you tell me, I might be able to help you. I was born in Fan Yu, so I might be able to help you. Yi Tianyun said. Chapter 1362. Since Heavenly Venerate Li Tian stopped, it meant that Yi Tianyun was right. Yi Tianyun guessed this because he felt that it was strange for Heavenly Venerate Li Tian to stay in Fan Yu. Heavenly Venerate Li Tian was born in a Grade 3 God realm and had nothing to do with Fan Yu. The two were separated by a great distance. Now that he liked to stay here, it meant that there was something related to him here. For example, his friend who was born in Fan Yu had died, so he came here to reminisce. Heavenly Venerate Li Tian had cultivated for tens of thousands of years, and as an Empyrean, he had experienced many things. Thus, it wasn't strange for something like this to happen. Yi Tianyun took this opportunity to ask. Perhaps he could really help. Heavenly Venerate Li Tian wasn't willing to help, but that didn't mean he didn't have a chance. As long as he could find a way out, there wouldn't be a problem. You were born in Fan Yu? Heavenly Venerate Li Tian didn't know as much as Heavenly Venerate Sword Ruler in this aspect, so he wasn't too sure. Yes, I'm the real deal. Yi Tianyun patted his chest and smiled. If it's to find someone or a place, there definitely won't be a problem. He wasn't lying. With the evil spirit wheel, it was easy to find someone without any pressure. As long as he had some information, he would be able to find that person immediately. Heavenly Venerate Sword Ruler's eyes lit up. It seemed like he really could find a way out. However, he was worried about Heavenly Venerate Li Tian. He didn't know that Heavenly Venerate Li Tian had such memories. Heavenly Venerate Li Tian thought for a moment before nodding. Actually, I'm looking for someone. You can say that I'm looking for my descendant. A long time ago, one of my Tao companions came from the mortal realm. During the God Realm War, I told her to stay far away, but after the God Realm War ended, I discovered that she had already left me. This was all because of the shockwaves of the God Realm War. He clenched his fists, his eyes turning slightly red. Most cultivators didn't care about emotions. It was clear that this woman held a significant position in his heart. Only now did they know why Empyrean didn't want to participate in the Divine Realm War. In the past, it was because of the Divine Realm War that his own Tao companion had died. Now, if he were to participate in the Divine Realm War, wasn't that the same as sprinkling salt on his wounds? Senior brother Li Tian, I'm really sorry. I was rude. Yi Tianyun shook his head. He hadn't thought that it would be such a sad past. Don't worry, it's all over. This is fate. Heavenly Venerate Force sighed. The war in the Divine Realm is cruel. There are bound to be countless casualties, and many innocent people will be implicated. However, this is something that cannot be avoided, unless there is an extremely powerful existence controlling these matters. At the very least, I can't. This was something that would happen every once in a while. There was no way to change it. Unless one was really so heaven-defying that they could control the exclusive property of the heavens, then they would be able to change it. But how strong would one's cultivation be? Although my Tao companion left me, I heard that she already had my child. At that time, I was wild with joy and kept searching for her. However, I could not find her. I heard that she died, but she might have left behind more descendants. I want to find a descendant with a similar bloodline. However, Fan Yu is so vast, it is hard to find one. Heavenly Venerate Force shook his head and said, it is also possible that she is not in Fan Yu. She might be in the deity domain, but I cannot find her. I wonder if you have any way to find someone similar. That is, someone with the Strength God's bloodline might be my descendant. Strength God's bloodline. A bright light flashed in Yi Tianyun's eyes. A person immediately appeared in his mind, Xiao Wu. Long ago, Xiao Wu recruited a wooden-looking expert. That person looked very wooden-looking, but he was terrifyingly strong. Actually, this was the Strength God's bloodline. Now, this person was a capable general in the deity domain of the three realms. However, this person's bloodline was extremely thin and could not bring out all his potential. However, under Yi Tianyun's care, his cultivation still reached the Star Venerate level, which was pretty good. In the deity domain of the three realms, this person could be considered a powerful general. However, his personality did not change, he was still that simple and honest person. That's right. It is the Strength God's bloodline. Let's start with searching for the Strength God's bloodline first. Then, we will investigate the bloodline. Heavenly Venerate Force asked, do you have any information on this? To be honest, Senior Brother Force, my faction happens to have such a bloodline. Shall I bring you over to take a look now? Yi Tianyun smiled faintly. Such a coincidence. Heavenly Venerate Force's eyes lit up in pleasant surprise. Such a coincidence. In that case, there is no time to lose. Let's make a trip there. Yi Tianyun smiled. Even if Xiao Wu was not a descendant of Heavenly Venerate Force, at least he had the Strength God's bloodline, which was worth nurturing. At that time, Heavenly Venerate Force might very well help. Okay, let's go now. Heavenly Venerate Force was also a little excited. He did not expect to have such news. Heavenly Venerate Sword Judge scratched his head and sighed, what a coincidence. If he really can take them all, my junior brother is really scary. Under the personal guidance of Heavenly Venerate Force, their speed was extremely amazing. It didn't take long for them to arrive at the deity domain of the three realms. There, he is training his disciples now. Yi Tianyun pointed to Xiao Wu, who was training his disciples below. Each and every one of them was carrying a huge rock and cultivating. Xiao Wu was also not idle. He shared the joys and sorrows, carrying the huge rock that was several times larger than them and began to run. Hurry up. If you want to become stronger, you have to work hard. I used to be like you, I had no status, no power, and I had to rely on my own hands. The key is to follow the right person. If Heavenly Cloud's great emperor didn't take me with him, I would still be farming in my hometown. Ha ha ha. One by one, they laughed loudly, and they couldn't help but laugh when they heard the word I. They had to admit that Xiao Wu was very approachable, very friendly, and didn't put on any airs. In fact, he didn't need to run with them, but in order to give them a little confidence and motivation, he ran with them. Little did they know that there were two heavenly venerates watching them from above. Among them, Heavenly Venerate Force looked up and down at Xiao Wu, and after a careful look, his eyes lit up. It really is the Strength God's bloodline. I didn't expect you to have the Strength God's bloodline here. It's just a coincidence. I think he has infinite strength, so I promoted him to be my general. He is simple and honest, and he works extremely hard in cultivation. His talent is ordinary, but if senior brother Li Tian really activates the power of his bloodline, I think he will become amazing. Chapter 1363. Li Heavenly Venerate didn't say much and immediately flew down. All of a sudden, the three of them landed in front of Xiao Wu. Xiao Wu, who was the first to run, immediately stopped, mainly because he saw Yi Tianyun. He didn't know the other two people. Heavenly Cloud's great emperor. When Xiao Wu saw Yi Tianyun, he was overjoyed and hurriedly threw the boulder in his hand to the side. Boom! The boulder smashed into the ground and created a deep pit. Many disciples behind him dropped the boulder and respectfully shouted, Heavenly Cloud's great emperor. There was no doubt about Yi Tianyun's prestige here. Basically, everyone knew who Heavenly Cloud's great emperor was. In every city, there was a statue of Yi Tianyun. This was not ordered by Yi Tianyun, but by Shi Xueyun. She said it was to give them absolute faith. If they didn't even know who their great emperor was, then there was no way they could rule. Therefore, it was necessary to make a statue so that other people didn't know. Unless it was some new people, otherwise, everyone who was just born would know. There was such a statue in every city, so how could they not know? After Yi Tianyun learned about it, he felt very helpless. But since Shi Xueyun did it, he just let her do it. Heavenly Venerate Mighty Heavenly Venerate suddenly grabbed Xiao Wu and sent a stream of energy into his body. The energy flowed through Xiao Wu's body and examined every single detail. You! Xiao Wu was scared, but no matter how he struggled, he couldn't break free from Li Heavenly Venerate's hand. Xiao Wu, don't be nervous, his bloodline is the same as yours, he can stimulate the power of the bloodline in your body, make you stronger. Yi Tianyun explained to him, indicating that he should not be so nervous. Xiao Wu had absolute trust in Yi Tianyun, so he immediately stopped being nervous and let Li Heavenly Venerate investigate his body. Of course, he could only let Li Heavenly Venerate investigate his body. Soon, Heavenly Venerate Force circled around once and his eyes flashed with a sharp light. He stared straight into Xiao Wu's eyes with a soul-stirring gaze. At this moment, Xiao Wu felt that he was being stared at, and his hair stood on end. He didn't know who this guy was, but he didn't look simple, and he was very strong. The mighty Sky Heavenly Lord looked very strong indeed. His body was tall and sturdy, and he was more than 3 meters tall, just like a small giant. Although they were still lacking compared to the other tall races, they were much stronger in terms of cohesiveness. This was his feeling. Whether it was accurate or not was another matter. Good, very good. Ha ha ha. Strength Heavenly Venerate, who had remained calm all this while, burst into laughter. His laughter spread throughout the entire 3 realms. The group of people all raised their heads to look at the sky. They did not know where this laughter came from, but it actually penetrated so deeply into their hearts. This was the laughter of an upper Empyrean, so its might was naturally extraordinary. Just the laughter alone was enough to scare away a group of people. Congratulations, senior brother Li Tian. You found your descendant. Yi Tianyun congratulated him from the side. Heavenly Venerate Sword Ruler finally reacted and gave Yi Tianyun a thumbs up. He didn't think that Yi Tianyun would be smarter than him. I also congratulate senior brother Li Tian. It's truly a coincidence that you found your descendant. I didn't think that the descendant of this generation would be in junior brother's faction, and he would even be a capable subordinate. What a coincidence. Heavenly Venerate Sword Ruler shook his head. There really was no story without coincidences. Everything was too coincidental. There's nothing more to say. I'll take care of the Divine Realm battle. However, in return, I'll be the one to train him. Of course, I won't take him away. I'll leave him here and won't restrict his freedom. Heavenly Venerate Force immediately decided to help protect Yi Tianyun. Just finding his descendant was enough for him to owe Yi Tianyun a favor. If he didn't help Yi Tianyun, that would really be inexcusable. Moreover, Little Wu would definitely participate in the Divine Realm battle. He couldn't just watch his descendant participate in the Divine Realm battle, and he might even die. Okay, then I'll leave him to senior brother Li Tian. Yi Tianyun's eyes lit up. Being personally taught by a Heavenly Venerate and awakening the power of his bloodline, Little Wu's future would definitely be bright. At that time, the Divine Realm of the Three Realms would have one more super general. Little Wu, you should listen to senior brother Li Tian's teachings. He is a super expert, and he is also your ancestor. Yi Tianyun said seriously. I hope you will cultivate well. The Divine Realm's defense depends on you. Yes, Heavenly Cloud's great emperor. Little Wu said firmly. He was absolutely obedient. Immediately, Heavenly Venerate Force left with Little Wu. He didn't ask where they were going. Anyway, he was going to awaken his bloodline or teach Little Wu various kinds of power. When Little Wu came back, he would definitely be stronger. Little junior brother, now it's my turn to congratulate you. With the three of us protecting you, there won't be any big problems in the Divine Realm. Unless the other side sends a more powerful expert, such as several upper Heavenly Venerates, you will definitely be able to defend the Divine Realm. Heavenly Venerate Sword Ruler was very confident in their strength. Then I'll leave it to senior brother Sword. Yi Tianyun nodded. Okay, that's all for now. If there's anything else, you can come to me. Heavenly Venerate Sword Ruler stretched out his hand and pinched his fingers, then frowned and said, but the Divine Realm battle should start soon, at most in less than 100 years. So soon? I heard that it will take a long time, at least 1,000 years to start. Yi Tianyun said in surprise. According to previous inferences, it should take a few thousand years, but this time it's a lot earlier. I think it has something to do with the changes in the Divine Realm. Heavenly Venerate Sword Ruler patted Yi Tianyun's shoulder and said with a smile, if you really want to go to the Divine Realm, you will need more power to protect your own forces. The cruelty there is 100 times crueler than here. However, I think Master won't just watch as something happens to you. When the time comes, he will definitely come to help. You can rest assured about this. This is also the reason why I'm willing to participate in the Divine Realm battle. If your forces are too weak, it will be hard for you to even protect yourself. In addition, without any external help, even if you go, it will only be a dead end. But now, your situation is different. With the three of us and Master's help, you can basically stabilize the situation. It's just that during this period of time, whether it's yourself or your forces, you have to increase the overall strength as much as possible. Of course, I know that it's very difficult to increase a lot. After all, it's not that simple to increase a force. It requires too many resources. After he warned Yi Tianyun, he turned and tore open the void to leave, leaving behind a pondering Yi Tianyun. In less than 100 years, it's going to start. Chapter 1364. It's been a long time since I last refined pills. Let's start now. Yi Tianyun had nothing else to do for the time being. He just wanted to improve his overall strength. Pills and weapons were very important things. Especially pills. They were highly consumable items. The consumption was extremely shocking. Therefore, he needed more pills. After plundering the evil spirit god domain, he obtained a lot of spirit herbs. He could refine many batches of pills. Then, he returned to his hall, took out a high-grade alchemy furnace, and started refining pills one by one. He refined thousands or even tens of thousands of pills at once. A thick aroma wafted out from the main hall. The fragrance enveloped the entire 3 realms. Just smelling this fragrance was enough to cause their cultivation speed to increase by quite a bit. The rest of the elders rushed over. They didn't know what was going on. When they entered the hall, they saw Yi Tianyun sitting on the ground in the middle. There was a huge alchemy furnace in the air. Every time it erupted, thousands of pills would shoot out and fall into the jade bottles on the ground. Shi Xueyun and the others came over and picked up the jade bottles. After checking, they found that they were all very good grade 3 god domain pills. Whether it was a star lord, an earth lord, or even the lord of heaven, it would have a good effect. Now, good pills were being produced in large quantities. This refining speed made them dumbfounded, especially Elder Gu and the others. Heavens, are my eyes playing tricks on me? Even grade 3 god domain pills can't be refined so quickly, right? They were all experienced and knowledgeable, but they had never seen such a terrifying refining speed. The number of pills refined in one go was too many. They were all dumbfounded. Yi Tianyun was in crazy alchemy mode, which increased the refining speed by 128 times. His refining speed was simply explosive. The pills that he refined were naturally much faster and more numerous. Those alchemists in front of him could not be mentioned in the same breath at all. These pills are refined. Take them out when you come in and distribute them. Those who have reached the Sage King stage and above can receive them. This will be a universal celebration to celebrate the establishment of the divine realm of the 3 realms. Yi Tianyun wanted to find an excuse. He couldn't possibly say that he was preparing for the divine realm war, but rather that it was a gift. The rest of the pills would be placed in the contribution temple so that they could exchange for them with contribution points. It was impossible for him to keep giving out elixirs for free. That would be reaping without sowing. No matter what, he needed to complete some missions. Otherwise, he would just sit and eat. He just wanted to make them happy and reward them well. All right. They took them one by one and began to arrange these matters. In addition to those above the Saint King stage, for those below the Saint King stage, Yi Tianyun would also refine a large number of pills, but this number was already terrifying enough. The number of cultivators below this level was extremely terrifying. There were at least hundreds of millions of pills. Of course, refining low-grade pills required less time and were easier to successfully refine. Thus, there was no need to worry about spending too much time and energy. All of them were extremely excited. Only Yi Tianyun could make such a big move. Next, this batch of pills was quickly distributed, immediately causing a shock in the divine realm of the 3 realms. A domain lord level existence was personally refining pills for everyone. This made the others feel extremely touched, especially when everyone could have one. Perhaps it was not a lot, only one. However, they knew how difficult it was. Even newborn babies were able to get one. Wasn't this shocking? This meant that how much energy was needed to achieve this step. But Yi Tianyun did it, and continued to do it, making them even more willing to work for Yi Tianyun. Those forces that had originally joined Yi Tianyun had their loyalty greatly increased. They were deeply moved. They felt that it was really good to join this force. Unlike those forces, who were extremely ruthless. Here, as long as one worked hard enough, they could get everything. Time passed quickly. Yi Tianyun has been refining pills, and he spent most of his time refining low-grade pills. Under the crazy refining, most people could get it, but there were still a few who didn't. Finally, after refining for half a year, everyone got a pill. He also specially refined a batch of pills and hung it in the contribution temple for others to exchange. finally finished refining, the proficiency increased a lot. I almost leveled up. Tianyun looked at his God Pill Master level. Before, he was at level 3, but now he almost reached level 4. If he could refine level 3 pills, he would have leveled up a long time ago. But even if he wanted to refine, he didn't have enough resources to do so. The resources needed to refine level 3 God Domain pill is not bad. Fan Yu level pill is much easier to refine. Ding! Completed special quest, World Celebration, People's Unity, gained all loyalty increased by 50, 1000 compressed crazy point, 1000 compressed proficiency. At the same time, gained the title, People's Unity. People's Unity, when facing enemies in the 3 realms God Domain, your own strength is increased by 5 times, your own healing ability is increased by 5 times, and the effect of cultivation consolidation is increased by 10 times. Is there such a good thing? Tianyun's eyes widened. He wanted to improve his overall strength and at the same time stabilize his position. Who knew that he would get such a special title by accident? Such a title will really have a great effect when facing enemies in the future. And this was an effect that affected everyone, not just him. Tianyun, it's hard on you to refine so many pills. Shi Shuyan came over with a cup of tea, her beautiful eyes were full of worry. It's not hard, it's okay, I'll just treat it as cultivation. Tianyun smiled, refining so many pills really gave him a lot of experience. No matter what, don't work too hard. Shi Shuyan sat next to him and smiled, the response outside is very good, everyone is very enthusiastic, and the task is a lot faster than usual. Well, this is a good sign. But I have to release more special tasks, for example, if you work hard in cultivation, you will get a lot of pills for every breakthrough. Tianyun said solemnly. This task is not very good, right? If you cultivate too fast, it's easy to have cultivation deviation. Shi Shuyan frowned. Don't worry about this, the environment here has been modified by me, unless there is a mistake in cultivation, otherwise this will not happen. Chapter 1365. Naturally, Shi Shuyan would not interfere with Tianyun's decision. Since he had already said so, she would not say anything else. She believes that Tianyun's decision will not be wrong, it has never been wrong before. Tianyun, why are you in such a hurry to issue such a mission? Something big must have happened. Shi Shuyan could feel that something was wrong. Raising his cultivation so quickly meant that he was either protecting the God realm or fighting everywhere. Tianyun had said that he would not fight everywhere. That meant that he was protecting his own God realm. Looks like you've seen through me. But once this mission is issued, you'll see through it soon. Tianyun did not hide anything. He said with a smile, it's the God realm war. It's an extremely dangerous war. If we succeed, we'll become a grade 4 God realm. If we fail, we'll be exterminated. However, I'm confident that I can win this round. Otherwise, I wouldn't have let so many lives in the God realm be implicated by my selfishness. Moreover, the God realm war could also affect this place. Even if I don't participate, I'll still be affected. Strength is always the most important. Therefore, raising one's strength is equivalent to increasing one's chances of survival. Even if Tianyun did not participate in the God realm war, it could still affect this place. The main thing was to see where the core of the token appeared. If it appeared in a grade 1 God realm, this place would definitely be affected. Even a grade 2 God realm would be affected. Unless it appeared in a grade 3 God realm, the effects would be reduced. Whether it was Fan Yu or a grade 2 God realm, they were too close. It was easy to be affected. The start of the war required resources. Where would the resources come from? Definitely from ready-made resources. The surrounding God realms could be robbed or turned into battlefields. Otherwise, they wouldn't be so cautious. The Heavenly Spring Domain's Glazed Domain Lord was even more cautious. She had already made arrangements. Those who were unprepared would die. The God Realm War. Soon, Shi Shuyan understood and was deeply shocked. She did not expect such a big event. When are you going to announce this to the public? Shi Shuyan's expression was solemn. This was a very important matter, and they couldn't afford to be careless. It was even more impossible to not announce it to the public. After all, everything had to be prepared. Giving them enough time to prepare, and more importantly, letting them know what kind of monster they were facing. Let's talk about it in a few decades. Let's not talk about it now. Tianyun thought for a moment before saying, but we can first make it clear to the other elders and discuss the plan internally. The plan is fine, but what about yours? Shi Shuyan's beautiful eyes were filled with worry. After understanding the situation, Shi Shuyan realized that their forces were just like throwing an egg against a rock. They could not withstand this battle at all. His overall strength was too weak. Even if he tried his best to raise it, he probably wouldn't be able to raise it by much. However, when Tianyun said that with the help of 3 celestial venerables, they could basically stabilize the situation, she reluctantly heaved a sigh of relief. However, she was still worried about Tianyun's safety. Tianyun truthfully told her all the dangerous things that had happened. Especially when they were fighting for the core of the token, that was the most dangerous moment. Facing the encirclement of so many strong enemies was the most fatal. Don't worry. The thing I'm least afraid of is being surrounded by enemies. Tianyun hugged her, his eyes full of confidence. I never do things that I am not confident about. You can rest assured about this, okay? Shi Shuyan nodded gently, but she was still very worried. While Shi Shuyan was busy with her own matters, Tianyun stayed in his room with nothing to do. At this time, he thought about the special mission of the worry-forgetting bridge. He had not been able to enter it then. Could he enter it now? Now that my cultivation has improved a lot, I should be able to get through it, right? Tianyun had previously felt that he needed the power of a celestial venerate to get through. Although he had not become a celestial venerate yet, his overall strength was enough to crush an ordinary celestial venerate. Immediately, he did not think too much about it. He immediately teleported above the core. Just like before, his soul was stripped from his body and reappeared in the small village. There were still people coming and going, and it was very lively. He still stayed in the small grass hut, which looked very simple and crude. Soon, he arrived in front of the worry-forgetting bridge. Now, many souls had entered the worry-forgetting bridge and gradually disappeared into the distance, never to look back. This time, I must pass through here. I feel that if I can get to the other side through here, I can definitely win the battle of the divine realm. Tianyun had a feeling that if he could get to the other side, he would be able to control the power of the 3 realms. The 3 realms did not seem very big, but the power within it was extremely terrifying. Once it erupted, even an upper celestial venerate would be instantly killed. A 9th grade divine inscription master was not a joking matter. How much power did one need to be able to reach 9th grade? He arrived in front of the worry-forgetting bridge and lifted his foot to step onto it. As he did so, he immediately felt his consciousness blur. This time was much better than before. At least he did not feel as if he was being sucked in immediately. There's a chance. Tianyun's eyes lit up. He immediately lifted his foot and continued to walk forward. As he walked forward step by step, his consciousness began to rapidly be sucked out. Originally, his soul had already entered, but now it felt more like his soul had left his body. It was like his soul was being stripped away on a deeper level. He clenched his teeth and continued to walk forward step by step. His consciousness was rapidly being sucked out. Stabilize for me. Tianyun groaned. He wanted his lost consciousness to continue to be fixed in his soul. Only then could he continue to walk forward. With every step, he needed to rest for a while to stabilize his consciousness. Only then could he continue to walk forward. At this time, he had only walked half the distance. There was still half the distance to go. He turned his head and looked to the side. There were souls following him, but they were walking leisurely. After crossing the bridge, they finally walked into the grass hut in front of them. It seemed that their goal was also the grass hut in front of them, not to disappear on the worry-forgetting bridge. The truth. Tianyun clenched his teeth and continued to walk forward. He guarded his soul bit by bit, not letting his consciousness leave. During this time, he felt the strength of his soul begin to rise at a crazy rate. Cultivation could be increased at will, but the strength of one's soul was not something that could be upgraded just by smashing experience points. It could only be improved by relying on one's own cultivation. But now, it was growing at a rapid pace. This made him feel somewhat happy. Chapter 1366. Tianyun walked forward step by step. He walked very slowly, sometimes it took him a few days to walk a single step, he just barely managed to walk one step. Fortunately, he had plenty of time and basically did not need to do anything outside. Before coming down, he had already informed Shi Xuan that he was going into seclusion and would not be here for the time being. If there was an emergency, she would contact him immediately. But from the looks of it, there would not be anything urgent for the time being. Although Heavenly Venerable Sword C was not here, he would immediately notice anything that happened here. The most important thing was that if little Wu stayed here, who would dare to touch this place? Heavenly Venerable Li Tian could flatten them in minutes. As time passed, his soul rapidly strengthened. Every time he strengthened a little, he felt that he had stabilized and that he still had some energy left. Only then would he take another step forward. Ding! Soul strength successfully upgraded to God Lord level 9. A pleasant voice sounded from the side. The strength of his soul cultivation was 4 levels higher than his own cultivation. He could not use experience to increase it, but it did not mean that the system would not prompt him to level up. It was just that he did not pay much attention to it. The strength of the soul had always been the most important level for cultivation. However, there were limited ways to level up, so Tianyun did not pay much attention to it. There were many ways to cultivate, such as through life and death tempering, which could improve a lot. Alchemy and blacksmithing could also speed up the improvement. Among them, engraving a god seal was the best. Even so, the improvement was extremely limited and rather slow. From the fact that Tianyun had refined so many things and was only a few levels higher than him, it was obvious that the difficulty of improving was too great. Some soul strength could not keep up with their cultivation, which could easily lead to chi deviation. Therefore, they would cultivate alchemy, blacksmithing, or cultivate martial arts in this area. For example, cultivating illusions could improve one's cultivation. The strength of the soul was closely related to all of one's abilities. It could resist heart demons and increase the range of spiritual consciousness. These were the most common. Alchemy was even more important. It could stabilize one's mind so that there would not be too many mistakes when refining pills. Now that Tianyun's soul strength had been greatly improved here, it was as if he had obtained a good opportunity. After all, it was usually very difficult to have such an improvement, which made him very happy. In this way, the increase in the strength of his soul would greatly improve his various aspects, especially when fighting against powerful enemies. He would be able to maintain his consciousness. I have to train here before I leave. I can't miss out on such a good place. Tianyun could be considered a cultivation maniac. How could he miss out on such a sacred place to cultivate his soul? Thus, he took each step very seriously, tempering himself. Several years passed in the blink of an eye, but he sat steadily at the end of the bridge, cultivating his soul. He only needed to take a step forward and he would be able to cross the bridge of worries. However, he did not do so. Instead, he continued to cultivate. He felt that he could improve further and strengthen his soul. Ding! Soul strength successfully increased to peak God Monarch. After cultivating here for a few years, he finally experienced another breakthrough, raising his soul level to the peak. This was not an easy task, but it was easily accomplished here. It was unknown how long he had cultivated outside to reach this level. He only needed to spend a few years here to successfully break through. It was really easy. After successfully breaking through, he realized that his improvement speed was extremely limited. It was basically very slow. If he wanted to break through, he would need to cultivate for a few hundred years or even 1,000 years before he could break through. It seems like this place is effective, but only for those below God Monarch. It won't work when I am near the breakthrough point. Tianyun wasn't greedy and felt content. At least he could cultivate here and improve his soul strength, which was hard to break through outside. Then, he raised his head and looked to the side. He had been here for a few years and saw an endless stream of souls walking forward. The souls didn't stop at all. Sometimes they were fast and sometimes they were slow. Sometimes they were fast and sometimes they were slow. Basically, after one passed, another would pass. Only when one passed would the next pass. It was always in the same order. The souls didn't even look at him. They just walked forward with dull eyes and disappeared into the mysterious house. It's time to go. Tianyun got up, lifted his foot and stepped forward, easily walking to the front. When he stepped on the ground, the previous feeling of depression immediately disappeared without a trace. Ding! Successfully completed the special quest, break through to the point where you can cross the Forget Sorrow Bridge and find the truth. Obtained 1000 compression EXP, 1000 compression crazy point, 1000 compression proficiency, 10,000 compression sin value. After crossing the Forget Sorrow Bridge, the task was officially completed and he got a lot of rewards. The data points that were about to be used up were quickly replenished. This reward is not bad, but it's a bit monotonous, but it's more practical. Experience rewards were already a common occurrence. Now, he just wanted to see if he could get a special reward, such as a title or some kind of weapon. These were the main points. Immediately, he looked at the house in front of him. It's time to go in and understand the real situation. He thought he couldn't come in this time, but he finally succeeded. Not only did he succeed, but he also got a lot of rewards. Looking around, there was only this small house. There really wasn't anything else. Following him, he lifted his foot and walked inside. After stepping into the house, his eyes suddenly opened up. The outside looks extremely small, but after walking in, the inside is as spacious as a temple. In front of Tianyun, there are 3 large pools. The souls that walked in chose to jump into one of the pools and eventually disappeared completely from his sight. Pools. Tianyun approached and found that there are 3 pictures in these 3 large pools. The first picture is the heaven realm. The second picture is the mortal realm, the third picture is the ghost realm. Reincarnation pool. Tianyun was shocked. Reincarnation has always existed, but he has never seen it as perfect as the 3 realms. These souls will unconsciously choose a place to reincarnate, randomly choose 3 places. They have long lost consciousness, so where they choose to reincarnate depends on their luck. After they came in, they would walk forward. Some of them walked diagonally and went to the heaven realm. Some of them went to the underworld or the mortal realm. Chapter 1367. Reincarnation had always been very mysterious, and no one could control it. Therefore, people had to wait for their memories to be awakened before they knew what was going on. As for which deity realm they would be reincarnated into and which race they would be reincarnated into, it was completely random. That was why Heavenly Venerate Killer God chose to possess a body instead of reincarnating. First of all, the bloodline was not fixed, and they might be reincarnated into a body with an extremely weak physique. At that time, not to mention awakening their memories, it would be good for them to be alive. But now, it was different here. It was completely fixed. The reincarnation area was in the 3 realms, and they did not wander around. Even he was stunned by this phenomenon. Although he had guessed this before he came in, he was still shocked when he saw it for himself. This really shocked him. Things that were impossible in the outside world could be done here. It looked so perfect, without any loopholes. He watched from the side. After these souls jumped into the reincarnation pool, they were quickly born and eventually became babies. This scene could be seen from the reincarnation pool, and he could see everything outside. Since he did not have any memories, everything was the same. If I jump down, won't I be able to reincarnate? Tianyun thought that if he kept his memories and jumped down from here, he would be able to reincarnate successfully, which was even more effective than possessing a body. As long as he kept his memories and started cultivating from a young age, he would undoubtedly win at the starting line. However, he could not choose which family he would be born into. It was still random and not fixed. Even so, this was already very amazing. Shortly after, he raised his head and looked in front of him. There was a stone slab in front of him, and it was densely packed with information. After he saw some of the information, he was immediately stunned. This information was very simple and crude. Those with cultivation higher than the Saint King stage cannot be reincarnated here. Moreover, those who were not born in the three realms deity realm could not be reincarnated here. These two rules, the first of which was the simplest and crudest, destroyed Tianyun's previous idea. It meant that those who had broken through to the Saint King stage or above, which was the star venerate level, could not be reincarnated here. Seems like it's not that perfect. It hasn't reached a heaven-defying level and can reincarnate at will. Tianyun shook his head. He thought that everything would be perfect. No matter how strong he was, he would be invincible here. Not to mention reincarnation, just the problem of death was no longer a worry. The dead would come in as souls and be reborn. As long as he kept his memories, there wouldn't be any problems. At the very least, he wouldn't die. Even if his talent wasn't as good, he would still be alive. But now it seemed that he had been too naive. Even someone as powerful as a 9th-grade divine engraving master couldn't do this. However, being able to reincarnate within the Saint King stage was already quite amazing. The densely packed divine seals on the ground spread out in all directions and enveloped the entire area. At the same time, the reincarnation pool was constantly absorbing energy. That was the only way to maintain the reincarnation pool. Without energy, it would have shut down a long time ago. Other than that, the side was empty. There was only an entrance in front of them, but no one knew where it led to. I don't know what other secrets there are in front of me. Tianyun walked directly forward and soon entered the passage. As Tianyun walked into the passage, he saw a variety of images on the walls. Every corner of the three realms was presented on the wall, and it was constantly changing. This place was like a place to observe the outside world. Everything outside could be seen in one's eyes. Is this an observation room? Tianyun walked over and reached out to touch the wall. When he just touched the wall, he found that his arm passed through the wall and penetrated to another area. Can I pass through? He was shocked and stretched his head forward, and then easily passed through the wall and came to the scene that matched the picture. Here is a snowy mountain area, which is the location where Jade Palace was originally located, and it is still snowing here. The original address of Jade Palace is still there, and it has been renovated, but now it's not inhabited, and it's used for sightseeing. In fact, it is regarded as a historical site, as a kind of memorial. To commemorate the development of the Heavenly Clouds Empire from this scale step by step. From time to time, cultivators come to visit as a tourist spot, and at the same time, explain various historical events at that time, which amazed them. Master, was Heavenly Cloud's great emperor that strong at that time? Yes, he was very strong. At that time, he turned the tide and saved the entire Jade Palace. Otherwise, Jade Palace would have been completely destroyed. I will surpass Heavenly Cloud's great emperor and become a stronger existence. Shh, don't talk nonsense, if you are heard, you will be beheaded. Master, this is not a display of impoliteness, but a display of respect. I want to be stronger, like Heavenly Cloud's great emperor, to protect the three realms. If I don't surpass Heavenly Cloud's great emperor, what's the point? I think Heavenly Cloud's great emperor must want more powerhouses to appear to protect the three realms and rule the great god realm. The disciple's tone was excited, and his eyes were full of worship, but the more worship he has, the more he wants to surpass. Smack. Enough, these words are not wrong, but it's better not to talk nonsense. The master patted the disciple's small head, motioning him not to talk nonsense. His companions next to him looked at him with reproachful eyes, motioning him not to talk nonsense, lest he will be implicated. Now Tianyun is the existence of God, they dare not blaspheme him even half a word. This young man dared to talk like this, he must be tired of living. Interesting, Tianyun looked at the situation here from the sky, paying more attention to the situation of this kid. This bold kid's cultivation is not high, only spirit refinement realm, but he is about 10 years old, which is a good talent. However, what he admired was that courage and insight. One had to learn to surpass others and not be willing to stay at the bottom. He wants more powerhouses to appear, not afraid to surpass him, so he chose not to break through so fast. Moreover, who can match his speed of breakthrough? Yes, when things are over, it's time to choose a disciple. He hasn't recruited disciples yet, but now it seems that it's time to recruit some disciples. As a direct disciple, there is no doubt that they can do things for him and protect the three realms. Immediately he retracted his head, everything is fine, no one found him. In fact, no one will find him at all, looking up from below, they will see nothing. Chapter 1368. A personal disciple could be said to be necessary, but it could also be said to be unnecessary. It all depended on one's own choice. Tianyun had a body full of treasures, but he had no way of imparting them. Even Sishue and Shuiyan couldn't do so, mainly because they weren't suitable. He needed a disciple who was suitable to cultivate the martial arts that he taught. Only then would he be able to impart them. The benefit of this was that he would have a loyal disciple and a super expert. He didn't have much, but he had a lot of resources. Nurturing a disciple would be extremely fast, and he just had to throw resources at it. High-grade heaven path martial arts weren't a problem. However, he couldn't find one that fit his requirements. He had to pay attention to the balance of the 5 elements, and he had to be like him, an existence that cultivated 10 refinements of the Earth Monarch. Let's talk about this in the future. This kid is quite interesting. Tianyun was quite interested in this brave kid. This courage and insight was enough to make him interested in taking him in as a disciple. Maybe taking him in as an in-name disciple wouldn't be a bad idea either. He didn't need an outstanding talent, but absolute loyalty. If there wasn't even loyalty, how could he impart his teachings? After that was hard work and diligence, and finally talent. Those without talent might have limited achievements in the later stages, but he didn't need all of his disciples to be top-notch. This type of disciple didn't have to play the role of surpassing him or being a super genius. He just had to be loyal and steady. Usually, he could still participate in the discussion of big matters. Soon after, he turned his gaze back to the wall. As he looked at it, the scenery around him changed in different ways. Everything was fine, and everything was proceeding in an orderly manner. In the few years that he wasn't around, everything was stable and united. Normally, nothing would happen unless he offended an enemy. Only then would he attract a fatal disaster. Now that he had offended an enemy, who would know that he was the culprit? Especially the death of Celestial Venerable Godslayer, no one would suspect him. How could a first-grade god realm kill Celestial Venerable Godslayer? As he walked, the path was really long. The main thing was that this was like flattening the 3 realms, turning it into a long corridor. He could observe everything along the way, taking in all the details. Therefore, this corridor seemed rather long. Tianyun's walking speed was considered fast. At the same time, he kept looking around. When one's cultivation reaches a certain level, they no longer need this kind of observation room. Looks like this is a place for strolling. When one's cultivation broke through to the Earth Monarch realm, one's spiritual awareness would be able to explore any corner at will. It was no different from looking with one's eyes. However, Tianyun reckoned that it was just his hobby, and he couldn't control it. Soon, he saw the exit in front of him. He sped up and passed through the corridor in one breath, entering the exit. After getting out, Qin Feng's vision suddenly opened up. The first thing he saw was a 5-element sphere of light spinning before him, releasing energy continuously. 5 elements core, 6th grade core, belongs to the super core type, extremely rare. It was a super core that had fused the 5 elements together, and its power was astonishing. This was the supreme power of the 5 elements. 6th grade core, 5 elements supreme power. Tianyun sucked in a breath of cold air. It was fine that it was a 6th grade core, but it was a core that fused the 5 elements together. Not only was it rare, it was simply unprecedented. It was still possible to see a single element core, but now that there was a fusion of multiple elements, that was really unprecedented. He didn't expect that the place he came to was actually where one of the cores was located. At this moment, he thought of the other 2 cores. Were they the 5 elements core? At least this one was the 5 elements core. Now, wouldn't he be able to absorb it into his body like crazy, increase the fusion of energy in his body, and also form a 5 elements core? Now, he had the metal, water, and wood attributes. The thunder attribute was not counted as one of the 5 elements. This meant that if he absorbed it, he would be able to replenish the energy of the other 3 attributes. This is too crazy. The 5 elements fused into a core. Tianyun felt the surging energy. It was probably something that even a heavenly venerable couldn't compare to. At the same time, he didn't dare to go near. If he went near casually, just the energy fluctuations alone would probably be able to turn his soul into ashes. Then, he observed his surroundings. There was nothing here except for the 5 elements core. As for the other places, there were no other entrances. The back area of the 5 elements core was a dead end. Apart from that, there was nothing else. Absorb this 5 elements core and you will become the true controller of the mortal realm. At the same time, open the other 2 trial paths. At this moment, a line of words appeared in the void, causing Tianyun below to be stunned. He didn't expect this to be a trial mission. Absorbing the 5 elements core would allow him to become the controller of the mortal realm. Ding! Successfully accepted the special mission, become the controller of the mortal realm. Upon completion of the mission, you will receive the title, Controller of the Mortal Realm. You will be able to activate the strongest effect of the mortal realm. As for the other rewards, none. The true controller of the mortal realm? There's such a thing. Tianyun was taken aback. With his strength, how could he not be considered the true controller? When he saw the 5 elements core, he knew that the true controller was the controller of this 5 elements core. The 5 elements core represented the power of the mortal realm. The key was that there was no reward. This made Tianyun speechless. After completing this kind of mission, he didn't even have any experience points. And he just received a title. However, he didn't think too much about it. Even if he received this simple reward, he felt that it must be because the reward was so amazing that it wouldn't come with other rewards. The true controller of the mortal realm? Looks like I have to give it a try. Tianyun's eyes lit up. He immediately sat down to meditate and began to absorb the energy from the 5 elements core. If he could absorb it, he would be able to condense 2 more planets in his body. This way, he would meet the requirements of the previous mission, which was to break through to the Heavenly Lord level, which required 5 planets. If he were to absorb it now, wouldn't he have 2 more planets? He didn't stop for a second and immediately began to absorb it madly, guiding the energy out bit by bit. After absorbing it into his body, after a period of buffering, he immediately began to condense 2 cores of energy. One was of the earth attribute, and the other was of the fire attribute. To be able to condense 2 cores in one go was really unprecedented. I wonder what kind of power I would have after successfully absorbing it and becoming a true controller. Chapter 1369. The rest of Yi Tianyun's time was spent crazily absorbing the energy of the 6th grade 5-element core. It could be said that he had picked up an invincible treasure. This sort of treasure was already at the upper Empyrean spirit treasure level, perhaps even more precious. A 6th grade core was already amazing enough. Now with the addition of a 5-element core, the effects were even more amazing. Yi Tianyun deeply sighed. Just what sort of divine being was able to create the 3 realms? Just what sort of heaven-defying cultivation did they have? He felt that an Empyrean level was already impossible. Only someone above the Empyrean level could create such an amazing 3 realms. The truth was that just a 9th grade divine inscriber was enough to show that their cultivation was far beyond the Empyrean level, but an even higher level. But how amazing was an even higher level? He couldn't imagine this, but there was one thing he knew. It was absolutely heaven-defying. Slapping an Empyrean to death with a single slap was as simple as that. He believed that he could find the answer he needed in the 4th grade God realm. As time passed, 2 cores rapidly condensed within his body. Because these were the 5-element cores, all the other attribute energies surged towards him and into the other planets. This wasn't a big problem. It was the same as absorbing more energy and continuing to strengthen the size of the planets. If he didn't have a single attribute planet, then he would be condensing 5 at once. This was truly amazing. Even so, it was impossible for him to come in without condensing any planets. If he didn't have planet energy in his body, then he wouldn't even be able to make a breakthrough. If he couldn't make a breakthrough, then there was no need to even think about coming here. Time passed year by year. The 3 realms God realm rapidly developed. Under the management of Shi Shuiyun and the others, everything was operating at an extremely fast pace. Their cultivations rose by leaps and bounds and resources were poured in. In addition, they expanded their influence, picked spirit herbs, and hunted monster beasts. All of these were given out as rewards. As for the other influences, there were basically no influences that came looking for him. Those that came looking for him had already been found. Those that didn't come looking for him wouldn't come looking for him. Of course, those that came looking for him were all decided by Shi Shuiyun. There was no need for Yi Tianyun to personally decide. In the blink of an eye, 50 years passed. Yi Tianyun had been cultivating and condensing for 50 years. This was the first time he had absorbed for such a long time, mainly because the absorption speed was too slow. The energies of the 5 elemental cores were too condensed. Trying to absorb even a strand of energy was like a tug-of-war. It was extremely difficult. It was so stable that it was difficult for him to absorb it. However, no matter how difficult it was, he still had to absorb it. After all, he had plenty of time and had nothing to do for the time being. Especially since this was equivalent to cultivation, it was just a side effect. After condensing for 50 years, the planets in his body finally formed. The 5 major planets rotated in his body, continuously releasing all kinds of energy and filling his body. This was not the end. The 5 planets had to be gathered together to form a huge 5-element core. Only then would it be considered complete. If that was not the case, then it could only be judged as a failure. Just condensing 5 planets couldn't be considered a success at all. It could only be considered a foundation. It's about to condense into 1. I can only succeed. If I fail, I'll die. Yi Tianyun's eyes lit up. It was extremely difficult to gather 5 planets together. If he failed, his body would explode and he would die. If he succeeded, not only would he be able to complete the mission, but he would also become the true ruler of the mortal world. Boom! Accompanied by a loud boom, the 5 planets collided and produced an earth-shattering sound. The 5 planets directly exploded and turned into piles of rubble. Yi Tianyun also felt as if he had suffered a heavy blow. All sorts of sounds rang in his head and he almost fainted. Defend your beer. Yi Tianyun guarded his beer to prevent himself from losing consciousness. Once he lost consciousness, he would be dead. Even if he had a life to use, he didn't want to experience that kind of death. Moreover, this kind of thing needed to be successful in one go. If he failed, even if he came back to life, it would be very difficult to condense it again. While maintaining a clear state, he condensed the countless rubble again. The dissipating energy in the surroundings was quickly gathered by him. Following that, countless rubble began to condense from all directions, piecing together bit by bit, forming a huge planet. This also required a very long time to condense and take shape. But according to this pace, the time needed was not short. The real key was still the constantly dissipating energy. If it was too late, the energy would disperse and it would be difficult to condense successfully. Without the energy to assist in condensing, how could it succeed? It could be said that Yi Tianyun was racing against time. He began to speed up the condensing, but the speed was still too slow. This was like a huge house. Eventually, it might be possible to build a house with bricks stacked one by one, but the speed was too slow. This might require a lot of time. By the time he completed it, everything would have failed. Too slow, cold sweat dripped from Yi Tianyun's forehead. He didn't expect the condensing speed to be so slow. This meant that if this continued, he would definitely fail. 5 planets were really too many. This was like building a small house. Perhaps one person could do it faster. But what if he built a castle? Just one person wouldn't be able to keep up with the speed. I wonder if crazy mode can increase the speed. He didn't think too much and immediately used crazy mode. The energy in his body was quickly stimulated to the fastest speed, directly stacking up to 128 times the speed. The planet energy circulating in his body began to circulate at a crazy speed. Dong, dong, dong. Pieces of meteorites collided together crazily and condensed to form a small half of a planet. In just the blink of an eye, he had successfully condensed a small half of a planet. The speed was much faster. Compared to before, the speed was 128 times faster. How could it not be fast? This was a little beyond Yi Tianyun's expectations. He just wanted to give it a try, but he didn't expect it to really succeed. The condensing speed had increased by 128 times. It was really incredible. Based on this speed, it won't take too long to successfully condense. Yi Tianyun was pleasantly surprised. At a speed visible to the naked eye, the huge planet began to condense, emitting colorful light. Based on the current situation, it would take at most a few days to condense successfully. It wouldn't take too long. With this, the worry in his heart was immediately relieved. He didn't need to worry about the condensing failure, which would lead to problems. It's a pity that this crazy mode can't be used to absorb energy. Otherwise, it wouldn't take so long. You're tuning into the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.